like I was telling the team today.
It's the love of Christ,
I'm
isn't it?
glad I do.
Speaking of that,
Yeah,
I was at a basketball game 2 nights ago, and my son's basketball game. Somebody came up and drove all the way in an area. They don't even have anybody on the team, and said, "Pastor Dave, I watch you and Julie Green all the time."
Hey, Di, good to see you.
Came and just watched a basketball game. So shout out to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There are so many people that say how much they love this show because you have the intel from the military, I have the intel from God, and there is so much confirmation, and it's so exciting to see it. And like I was telling the team today, I don't even know how much I'm going to get through prophecies today. I'm going to try. I didn't even get to any prophecies last week because there was so much news going on, and there's so much news going on this time. So who knows what's going to happen today? All I know is there's going to be a lot of exposure, a lot of lying that is coming to the surface, and we are just at the beginning stages of God literally dismantling the deep state in their entire system and how it's ran. What they've done for so many years, it's not working anymore. And it's great to see them fall out. It is great to see them panicking because they are caught and there is nothing they can do about it.
That's exactly right. The whole house of cards is coming down. Going back, there's a bombshell that came out this week. It's still being vetted about a whistleblower coming forward to claim that they have evidence that the governor of Pennsylvania was behind with Joe Biden to assassinate President Trump. So obviously there was information. So a general reached out to me about that. And I said, "Is that true?" And he says it looks to be true, but they're digging. A couple generals are digging deeper into that. And long story short, going back and forth with him, he finally referenced a prophetic word by you. So he was more on the prophetic as he was on the literal intel. So I thought that was kind of fascinating.
And Diane, I do love Tommy Robinson's political view. I'm right there with him. That's my view exactly as his is.
That the situation in Pennsylvania matches another whistleblower.
And Di, my Osling's about to hit 2,300.
That came forward. I got to be careful when I say this. Another whistleblower that came forward. We've mentioned it on here before, who claims that they have evidence that Trudeau and Obama were behind a missile attack against President Trump. The same whistleblower, the day before, July 12th, before this event happened with President Trump, warned people at our government that there was a mole inside the Secret Service that was coming after him. So it looks like this is all connected.
Mm-hmm. This is all connected for sure. And God's been talking about this for so long. And what you mentioned about Josh Shapiro, this is the reason why God said he has to dismantle past elections. That's why elections are so important. It can't just be, we won 2024, we're going to move forward. You have to fix the past because just like Josh Shapiro, he won.
Diane, do you think Trump got the 2020 election stolen from him? I do. I followed it, and I think he got it stolen blatantly. Do you think that?
By fraud. I was there that night with Doug Mastriano at that party, the watch party in Pennsylvania that night. We were watching.
It's always me and you, Di, isn't it?
And those votes split, just like they were with President Trump 2 years before that. If Josh Shapiro was not in that position, it would have been Doug Mastriano in that position during this Butler, Pennsylvania. Think of how different that outcome could have been if you would have had the right governor in place. So when people just think of an election, now it's just President Trump is important. Every election is important, and that includes governor elections as well. That includes every senator. That includes every congressman, either it's federal or state level. Every one of these elections is important. And that's why God just gave me a prophetic word, I think it was yesterday, about dismantling past elections and removing those people who are in these places that do not belong there. They are treasonous traitors. They're the ones who are still handing us over to our enemy on a daily basis. Just like you have somebody, the mole inside of ICE, or they're inside of, because they were giving up all the intel of going getting all those gangs in Colorado and stuff.
Yep.
So you have people that are moles. You have people sabotaging, just like God said, in every way they're sabotaging. You have somebody trying to sabotage ICE from getting these things out of our country. You also have all these judges trying to sabotage President Trump from actually doing his job. And if we actually know how our government is ran, the three branches of the government, and where these judges lie, they don't have power to overrule the executive branch the way they're trying to do it. So this is going to be so explosive. It's like,
And Diane stealing the election, whip up the right wing. He's a rogue candidate in Illuminati cards, remember? And apparently nothing's been done about the Christians being kidnapped in Nigeria.
what God has said, two worlds colliding. Something is going to have to give, and something is going to break. And it's not going to be our side. It's going to be the enemy's side for sure.
Well, I've talked to so many people that I've been talking to for years, and a lot of them are even coming out public. We had Dr. Jerome Corsi on today. He's completely 100% confident they're going to get to the 2020 election. U.S. aid, them looking at U.S. aid, also Social Security. They see the multiple Social Security numbers of
It's only 1 hour old, this.
done on purpose. This
No,
ties into
no,
voter
hang
registration,
on.
which is going to tie
I
into
can't chop
the
everything
fraudulent
just
2020
yeah.
election.
Come on.
He has their algorithms. He knows how they did it. He announced a major announcement that hasn't been made public yet about a president. He's working directly with President Trump's team. His President Trump's attorney is about ready to drop some bombshells about these 2020 elections. So giddy up. He also said 20 House seats were stolen and 5 Senate seats were stolen from the 2024 election, and they will get to the bottom of it. Pam Bondi has a 3:00 Eastern press conference today. Some are talking about what she's going to do to go after these judges. Hang on. It's all coming. Nothing they can do to stop what's coming.
Diane, did you see Meghan Markle lost the title?
And, okay, so how many prophecies have I had about declassifying documents? And it was going to be the worst nightmare. I actually have 3 prophecies. I'm going to say these prophecies first before I go over the news, which was just broken last night, which God just gave me a prophetic word. I had it on the 2nd of February. I gave it out yesterday because I'm not on every day. So when I hear sometimes 2 and 3 a day, I'm behind. So I try to do as much as I can, but it's always perfect timing of God. Well, I gave one out about JFK yesterday, and of course, what happened last night about releasing the JFK files. We also talk about JFK. I have proof of all those prophecies I've been saying for a long time. But here is a prophecy about declassifying documents. This is from January 28th, 2025. The truth is about to hit DC like never before. Declassifying documents will be in order, and it will be a nightmare for DC. Then here's another one. Declassifying, this word will be in your news. Now that this was from July 24, 2022. And then here's another one. This is the bigger one. This is from June 16th of 2024, called Great Shaking is Coming to Your Justice Department. Classified documents are about to be a nightmare for people in Washington, D.C. and the establishment. Some documents have been declassified and are about to be seen by the public. They will destroy their narrative and keep the deep state from going forward and proceeding with their next moves. It will all come crashing down like the house of cards, says the Lord of hosts. So, the declassifying documents, they're talking about JFK, MLK, they're talking about 9/11, they're talking about the Epstein files, and now also you have President Trump getting down to the bottom of the Secret Service being involved, or what happened with the day in Butler, Pennsylvania with the assassination.
Okay, 9/11, they're going to investigate that. They're not going to find anyone responsible.
Okay. Declassifying documents. It is seriously been on the heart of God since 2022. I know there's more. This is what I had time for. And this is what God is saying. All these things that have been buried. That prophecy he gave, I gave out yesterday. I had to say this because it was so profound how he said this. Someone who has been buried for a long time will be brought back in the open, and it will paralyze your enemy's plans. JFK secrets the CIA has been hiding no longer can be suppressed, but it will be a domino effect to other.
Could be talking about the resurrection of Nimrod, which apparently happened from Iraq, I mean.
Other secrets that kept the establishment in control. Get ready for one explosion after another that won't stop until your enemies are fully brought down. God's been talking with JFK files for a long time. He's been talking about Epstein. He's been talking about 9/11. He's been talking about all these different things. And now he's been giving me all these different prophetic words lately. He gave to me last year, but now he's unloading on it. Follow the money, find the truth. I don't know how many times I've said on this show and also my live shows, is that once they find the money, it is going to be like this destructive force that is going to implode the House of Cards in Washington, because that is what
They're already investigating the Clinton Foundation. So she's got some something right here.
has been holding the establishment together, is all of these servers, all of this financial crime, what do you call it? A financial crime system, I think is what he said. He said, he used another word too in today's prophecy I gave out, which I'll give out to you. But there's so much U.S. aid. It's like one little level, and God is going to dig deeper and dig deeper until it's all rooted out. It is going to be phenomenal, because if you think,
Diane, weren't they released in the last 24 hours or a little bit longer? Because King Charles, when he's stripping Andrew of his titles, he said it's because of his connection to Epstein. And he said basically likewise with Meghan Markle, we're stripping her titles for her involvement with Epstein. So I think the list has been out for a couple of days. And apparently Trump's not on it in a bad way.
these people are panicking now, you just wait till all this stuff surfaces, and there's nothing they can do to stop it, because they can't stop God.
No. I mean, we haven't seen anything yet. This U.S. aid is only 1%, I'm told, of what's coming. I've talked to people who have seen some of it, and they say it's mind-blowing. And remember, these are the people that have been talking about this stuff for 4 or 5 years, and they're still mind-blown. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, it was announced that they were looking at, as you said, the JFK and MLK documents are being released. One of the congresswomen came out and said that there's, based on what she's seen, there's no doubt there was 2 shooters. That should be in news everywhere, that there was 2 shooters in JFK. Mm-hmm. Glenn Beck broke the internet yesterday. It was something I heard too. He confirmed it publicly. He said as soon as Kash Patel is sworn in, he's going to immediately.
Diane, as soon as the financial system collapses, famine will be about a week behind it. Thank God you've got food put aside. You're closer to tribulation than we are.
At least the Epstein list. The Epstein, everything on Epstein. Mm-hmm. Somebody came up and told me 2 days ago that Kash Patel, you mentioned House of Cards. God mentioned the House of Cards. That Kash Patel himself is one of the Trump cards.
He is so awesome. I mean, we obviously both personally know Kash, but I believe that. I truly believe that he could be one of the Trump cards. God is going to use several different people in several different ways. And I think this is the beginning. That's why they're trying to postpone that as long as they possibly can, because they know once Kash is in, all bets are off and everything is just going to collapse. I know Tulsi Gabbard, thank God, she just got confirmed today. Yep. We know Pam Bondi, obviously, she just got confirmed a couple of days ago. So things are going in the right direction, and everything that they're doing to try to sabotage President Trump, it's not going to work. And when it doesn't work, it's going to send him even more in panic mode. God just gave me a prophetic word that I gave out yesterday that talked about a civil war in the establishment itself. They are there's so much infighting because they don't know who's in control. They don't know who to believe and who to follow, who's got the right ideas and who doesn't, because the people that used to lead have failed them, and they see that they have failed. And there was there's so much information. There was a woman that came out, I think she was on a broadcast just the other day, that she was talking about how Obama's third term was Biden's. And so obviously we knew Biden was not the one who was running the show. He literally was the front man. He was the puppet that just kind of came out and appeased the news reporters every once in a while. And then he went back in his hiding place. He went back to his, house and was on the beach. He really was not the president. We all knew that. But it's so awesome to see that these people are automatic. They're talking about this. This was a Democrat. I think she was like part of their campaign fund person or something. This is a huge deal. And this is just the beginning of Biden, because God's not done dealing with Biden and Kamala either.
Well, Biden just announced yesterday, our DOJ said that Hunter Biden was bribing foreign governments in favor of his father.
The DOJ said that, okay, things are heating up.
admitted it. So there it is. More is coming. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Now we found out that, remember Joe Biden's famous bribe saying, if you don't fire that prosecutor, you don't get $1 billion? Well, that came out of USAID. That was taxpayer dollars. That was U.S. taxpayer dollars he was bribing somebody else with and then taking the money on that. Back to Cash Patel for a second. I saw the plan B. If they do not confirm Cash, they have a plan. And it's in their best interest to pass Cash, because the second plan would devastate them completely. It would be all-out war, and it would be 100 times worse. I kind of hope that they mess with him and don't get him confirmed after what I saw today. There's no way they're going to stop it.
They think they have all these different ways to bring down President Trump and his administration, but God has so many ways to bring down them. They have all these different weapons, and every weapon they choose, they're going to lose no matter what. And just like you said, no matter if Cash is confirmed or not, that's not going to stop God. It doesn't stop God because of one person. God is literally he's been saying he's dismantling this entire system. He calls it a money laundering, cesspool and he mentions a whole bunch of different wording to this financial system that they have. They use our tax dollars to fund terrorists, to put them into colleges. They have given them everything. I mean, this is insane what they have done with our tax money. God's been talking about the Federal Reserve and how evil it is and how it's not a part of our country. He's been talking about our IRS, how it is so fraudulent and has been put up by the establishment to, again, give them this unlimited purse so they can spend all these different, this hellacious amount of money without anybody stopping it. That's the reason why they got rid of the gold standard back with President Nixon, because they didn't want any limits to their fraud. And so they're giving themselves away. The more they're screaming, the more they're crying, the more they're saying the F-bomb in front of everybody, the more they're just crying and just literally having tantrums, adult tantrums, live on air. They're showing if you really truly wanted transparency, it usually shows your innocence. But if you don't want transparency, it usually shows you have something to hide. So all they're doing is they're showing their mask. They're removing it because they have all profited off the backs of the American people, and the American people are going to find it out.
They are, and it's coming. You mentioned gold standard. I can confirm again, President Trump is going to a gold standard. I don't know.
Shawnee, they've taken Meghan Markle's titles away because of a link to Epstein. King Charles done that in the last 48 hours. So, yeah, they're right on the emails are in the list.
But it's going to be fairly soon. I've seen the documents. I spoke with a team that's working on that in crypto. So that is coming. Going back to this USAID, the fake news. Now we know why the fake news was doing what they did. They were being paid by... Shawnee, don't want to go to sleep and wake up. I want to watch them all crash and burn. I want to see them all go to jail. I don't care if Trump's a villain. If he locks them up, good. Then lock him up. Taxpayer dollars to lie to us.
Yep.
We paid companies like Disney subscriptions to Disney Plus and all this stuff out of taxpayer dollars. So all their numbers were inflated. So this not just hits the fake news, but this also inflates your stock market. Because what if when Disney has to take those numbers back, they weren't real? They weren't real subscribers. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. The corruption.
Last thing we were going back to the gold standard back in 2021 or 2020.
Apparently, a Democrat senator has resigned to do with the Epstein case. Apparently, he's resigned. I saw that on YouTube this morning. And they called him the first victim of the Epstein files.
Me too.
Come on, man.
And he's been talking about how fake the news is. He's always been talking about how there was a props that he gave me this morning. Since we're talking about the news, I'll have this up right here because it's right in front of me. He's talked a lot about the news, but this is something that he went a little bit more into. So I want to read this off to you. It says, he's talking about the architects. Now he named, remember how I said?
I hope it does though, Shawnee. It'll be good to see all these buggers go to jail.
For the architects and blueprints, he's given us names and who they are. So some of, not all of them, but some of the architects are the the secret societies, the Illuminati's, the Bilderbergs. Those people, he's also talked about Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, George Soros, some of these are the architects. These are the people who are controlling the swan. These are not It's not Obama. Okay, he is in control, of a lot of the deep state, but he is another puppet to these people that control him.
Hey,
So, a lot of
Lobo,
money,
good
a
to
lot of
see you,
business,
mate.
a lot of these secret societies are the ones who have been controlling a lot of our establishment, our government. So he's talking basically to these people. He said, you control the world with your news. You also paid to have them say what you wanted. So your fake news would be the only thing that people would hear. Only to have every major news network that you pay to suppress the real truth or the real news will implode. News networks will receive an audit. It will show the money trail and who and where it all went to. I will show the intelligence agencies and the technology was used to brainwash and pollute the minds of every American and manipulate the psychological operations to influence the behavior of this nation, along with other nations to follow along. Your PSYOPs operations that have been funded by the American taxpayers against themselves will all be exposed. So he's talked about the CIA, he's talked about the intelligence community controlling a lot of the verbiage and a lot of things, a lot of the scripts that the news media has been given. He's been talking about that for at least 3 years. But now he's really getting into it and saying it was your tax dollars that were paying for these psyops. It was your tax dollars that were paying to brainwash each and every one of you in this nation, not only this nation, but around the world. God was saying in these prophecies, this big, huge slush fund, the Ponzi scheme, what's been controlling and funding the establishment has.
Lobo, go and dip your hand into your boiler and see how hot it gets. You can imagine hell's like 50 times hotter than that.
Not only affected the American people, it has affected people all over the world. This is a big deal. Not only will our country be free from this smut, but it's also going to be the nations around the world. Mm-hmm. There is going to be a huge.
Lobo, Jesus is shiny. She had a name change when they put them crowns on, like we all did.
Domino effect. Starting with this country, and it's going to implode all over the place because they have their hands in everything, everywhere.
Amazing when you brought up architect. I think there's several meanings to the Lord architect, but I think I mentioned last week I saw this document on how the Doge team and put a plan together and how they use algorithms and code to go in and find these, to track the money. It was absolutely brilliant how they did that. But I read another article on it just a couple of days ago, almost the same information, but a little bit different. But the term they used in the code was called architect. They called it an architect was the code.
Really?
Yeah. So when you said that prophetic word, it brought back that, yeah, they're literally using the code as the architect. This was the architect on how they manipulated the American people, the taxpayers to all these funds.
Wow. How many times on this show alone, and I don't know how many prophecies that God has given me and said that word, architect. Now there's architects, there's many different ones.
Yeah.
Because you got to think there's an architect of the January 6th committee. He was just talking about the architect of the news, and he was talking about the architects of the deep state. He was talking about how they're the ones who cause wars. He said, you started wars to cause more chaos, conflict, and distractions to profit off the death of anyone who got in the way of your plans. You paid to have every nation globally to have elections fixed. So you would have global puppets everywhere, all of the nations to align with your design. So again, there are different levels of architects. There are the low architects and there are the super high architects. Just like in our government, you have the deep state, you also have the puppet masters who wrangle those deep state people. So not just them who are running the show, just like a lot of people think that Obama runs it. Yes, he has been running a lot of the shadow government, but he also has people he has to go to. It's not just Obama. He was groomed to run the one world government because even Henry Kissinger said like 3 or.
Di, can you send that to me on Discord, please? That looks very interesting. I'd like to show Gabe.
4 times live on air, but there's more to just this Obama thing. There's more to the Biden situation. It is going to be so devastating to.
Why I wanted to show Gabe's a Catholic, and the Catholics aren't mentioned there. The Catholics go on that they're the first church since Peter. They invented Christianity, basically. And I always attack them. Well, how come we didn't hear from you for 400 years? And they don't like that because they didn't exist 400 years until 400 years later with Constantine. But I don't like to be told that. And I'll troll them with that and I'll post it on the chat.
God said some will be removed in handcuffs.
Thanks,
Some will
Di.
go on their own. And he even talked about how some will have health complications that they will not be able to return to their duties. Some will not survive. That means some are going to die and they won't be able to finish out their term. And then he also talked about how even past people, so people who are not in positions anymore, he said they are also not safe from their treasonous acts and from judgment that's coming.
I was just told 2 days
That'd mean people like the Clintons.
ago that the top levels of who you're talking about, the secret society that pulls the puppets on Obama, have been captured. That phase is over, pretty much over. Now the phase is the middlemen, the Obama type people, and you can feel it. And they said to me, watch for suicides. Watch for suicides. Suicides will pop up everywhere. We're getting into that
They'll
phase.
be Epstein is what we call it.
Yep.
They'll be Epstein. And because you know what? But this is another thing that it was, I think in the prophecy, it was prophecy yesterday. So let me go into that one. This is really interesting because we know a lot about Hillary Clinton. But the reason why I say Epstein, because you know that the Clintons probably had something to do with that one. But anybody who crosses the Clintons, they get Epstein. But here is something that was said. Someone is also about to give up Hillary Clinton in a form of a major revenge for what Hillary has done to most people don't even know about. She has called for the assassination of many to hide her and Bill's secrets to stay relevant in power. When these people and the establishment know Hillary is no longer important.
Clinton's kill list. Last time I heard it was in its 40s.
Their mouths will open wide, and their mouths will open to tell the secrets of many skeletons in the Clintons' closets. Hillary's thousands of emails are coming to the surface. Someone has had them the entire time. This will blow the doors open so many establishment secrets will rock many who are in Washington. Now I know she is just one of many who have called for the assassination of many different people. We also are finding out that Biden was probably included. I think it was like Tucker Carlson also talked about it. There was no way that Biden did not know about the assassination attempt on President Trump. There's no way the Secret Service didn't know. There's no way the CIA didn't know. And there's no way the FBI didn't know. There's no way. There's too many things. And even the local police had no communication with the Secret Service, which they should have, which is insane to think about when you have somebody that's that high profile. And having everything work as a network and how they just avoided them. There are so many things coming, but I'm telling you, this whole Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, those emails, those are devastating to the establishment and all that's going to come out. But somebody's had them the entire time, holding them for the right time to release them.
I know who has them, or at least one set of people that have them. Back to the assassination attempt. I believe Tucker Carlson went out and said another more direct way that said Biden was behind the assassination. Point blank said it. So it ties into what this whistleblower also said the FBI field office in Philly covered it up. And then if you remember, Joe Biden's wife, came unscheduled event to pull that team away at the last second. And I'm told that's part of it. But going back to some people that may have some information on the Clintons, remember Julian Assange was taken back. He's just been waiting for a particular time to drop something. But I was told 2 days ago, and it's starting to come public yet, but I haven't seen it from an official source, that Snowden is going to be completely pardoned.
So he should be.
Snowden, Assange, bring the Clintons completely down.
I didn't know Assange.
Assange helped Trump a lot get elected, releasing the WikiLeaks, and Trump should have pardoned him, but he didn't. And I thought that stunk.
And Edward Snowden had anything to do with the Clintons, so that is very interesting to find out. And also, I don't know how many times I had prophecies on Edward Snowden, and so
Assange is Australian, guys. Julian Assange. He's from Brisbane.
I am very excited. I literally do hope that he is pardoned. He was trying to out the Biden the Obama administration back in the day because he was part of the NSA and they were spying on American citizens, and he found it out. And he wanted to tell the people what the government was doing against them. So I think he should be a whistleblower who should be protected. I'm glad that he got out before he was Epstein. Like other people, just like the Boeing. There's a
And Edward Snowden, I think he lives in Moscow at the moment. What a horrible life for a Westerner, ostracized from your country.
two whistleblowers from Boeing that were
Yeah.
assassinated.
I think 3.
I mean, was it 3?
I think
But
so.
look at also, and I know we're going to go back to this, but look at guys been talking about sabotaging of airplanes. There was another. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. There's too many things happening with airplanes. I believe soon we're going to hear ground stop and grounded flights because there are so many things. I kept hearing it the other day when I was praying regarding these airplanes because God said he was going to ground them because of what they were trying to do in the air. They are sabotaging our infrastructure, and one of them is the FAA. They have literally went in there and sabotaged it. We can see that Biden just absolutely blew that up. And we have been, there's so many near misses and close calls. This is a danger, but this was done on purpose. This was not an accident. This was another thing to bring in those 15-minute cities, anything to paralyze and to cripple people from traveling in any way, shape, or form. They don't want you to have freedom, and that was another form of freedom that they wanted to take away from you. So there is a lot of that's going to come out regarding the FAA and what's going on with sabotaging planes. And I think Boeing is going to be the downfall to a lot of that.
I know
those exposures.
There's more whistleblowers coming forward. I know one in particular, but it's got the mother load on Boeing. It's not going to be pretty for Boeing. I think we talked about this last week. A source told me that he believes that there's going to be a national grounding of all airplanes here in the very near future. So you can see why and how that could potentially happen.
Yeah, that's prophetic because God did talk about that, and it's already happened a few different times. But we also know, I believe that's going to be even a greater thing. Just like you said, it could be a nationwide total everything, no matter what kind of airline it is. I do believe that because God said he was saving us from what was happening in the skies above us. And because they could use our airplanes, because remember, he said that one prophetic word, they could take it and flip of a switch and turn it, and they could control those airplanes, just like they control, helicopters, or they could control cars, or they could control boats, they can control trains. They can control these things from an outside source. And so you can think what a devastation if they had power to flip a switch and it caused catastrophic damage to any airplane at any particular point in time. When you have hundreds of people on an airplane, it is, and I'm not trying to scare people about flying because I used to fly everywhere all the time. But there are that time where God's talking about going blackouts and times we're not going to have our phone, and times we're not going to have our internet. We've started to see just a little bit of that where we have, our phones aren't working sometimes and text messages aren't working sometimes, our internet's going in and out. I think this is just a little bit of a test to see what's going to happen, because I think things are going to shut down. And what God said, this was for our safety. This was for our protection. Because just like the prophecy, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago when I was on here, that they were using our technology against us. So in order...
Lobo, she talks to God. That's not unusual. God talks back to a lot of people. It's not unusual, mate. When you're Christian, you'll find that out.
To stop that 9/11 style attacks all across the country on a scale never seen before. And they
won't expose that. They won't expose 9/11. No way. You know what Trump should be exposing? Michael Obama.
Can use technology.
And it's curious why he hasn't.
To do it. How do you shut the enemy down? You cut the lines of communication off and you cut off technology. So when people see this is not for our destruction. It's actually to stop the weapon that they're trying to use against us, which is our phones or technology, which is like, the internet and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen for our good, not for our defeat.
Well, there's a report, and maybe one of the generals that are watching can confirm this or deny it. I heard, and it hasn't been verified, that the military shot down a aircraft near the Super Bowl. This aircraft, I think it was a Gulfstream, and it seemed it didn't obey the fighter pilot's orders, and it's almost like it was hacked, and they wouldn't listen. And finally, I was told a fighter jet shot it down. So there's a general out there that can confirm that. We'll see, but that's what I was told.
Wow. And wasn't there a drone that was following President Trump in one of his motorcades?
Yes. Yep.
Was that last week? Because I just heard about that last night.
I think that was around the Super Bowl too, if I remember correctly.
That was the Super Bowl?
That one I think is public, but I don't think the aircraft shooting aircraft is obviously it's not public.
That's not out.
Yeah.
The drone was out because I just heard it. I think it was a Gateway Pundit or something that said it. Someone said it because I just was told that. But again, because it was another assassination attempt against President Trump that had to be stopped.
Yep.
Thank God we do have good people in Secret Service and military protecting him. But there are still rats, and they're going to find them, just like they're going to find the rats in the moles in ICE. They're going to find the rats in the moles still in the Secret Service trying to sabotage President Trump and his safety. There are people that are giving his, they're leaking some of his safety features so they can try to get in there to hurt him in any way they can. With his, even if it's a little bit of a window, they're going to try everything. That's why we have to continue to pray for him.
Well, yeah, we have to pray. We have to pray for this nation because you see with all the stuff that's coming out, the truth, exposure, USAID, all these other Doge, Epstein files coming, JFK files, all this information coming out. And the JFK file, what, 2,400 documents were never seen before? And one of the congresswomen, I think it was Luna, came out and said, there's no doubt it was two shooters. That should be front page on all news sites. But they are so trapped. This is why they're the most dangerous right now. They have nothing to lose. And that's why we have to pray up, because this is intense time.
It was Luna that came out and said that. And so here's a couple of prophecies that I had regarding JFK. Again, this is, there's 3 on here. This is from December 4th of 2024. Your leaders have hidden dark secrets like who truly killed JFK. Why? They are stonewalling and delaying the investigation. What truly happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, the attempted assassination of President Trump? Why? There is more to the story that is still being hidden. There is more than one shooter for JFK and President Trump, and it will all be revealed. So that was from December 4th. So God said there was more than one shooter for JFK, and there's more than one shooter for President Trump. Now, I know that the President Trump one hasn't come out, but it will. And then here's another one from December 29th of 2022. It says JFK. This name will be in your news again for a significant reason. More truth will be revealed on how deep his murder went, how many in your government were involved, and why they killed him. Those records will not be sealed and covered up for much longer. I am opening them up to show how corrupt this government has.
Lobo, why do you complain about every chick or every person I put up here?
Been and why and how it has affected you today. The course of this nation will abruptly change, says Lord Post. I truly believe the course of this country has changed since President Trump. Here's another one. February 21st, 2022, they started it all. An all-out war against you when they stole your elections, oh United States, for so many years.
Lobo, you don't have to be sorry, mate. I'm just bantering with you.
My children, yes, the truth concerning JFK
Like I said, mate, unless you're blasphemous, you'll stay here, no worries.
will be revealed. It was an inside job. Yes, they wanted, yes, a man, but he wasn't one of them. So he said they're saying that JFK was not the man that they wanted. He was not a deep state person. So they wanted to destroy him because he wasn't falling in line with their plans. And then he said, everyone since.
And wasn't he also going to release the files on UFOs? Kennedy, I'm talking about.
Except Ronald.
And he wanted to change the reserve. That's a death knell.
Reagan, who blew up, they're stealing all this his election. They couldn't. He won by too many votes. He slowed their plans down so they patiently waited. After the assassination attempt didn't work, and after he left office, they needed to figure out another way to speed things up. That's always had been Reagan again. That's always had their pick on either side of the aisle. Or at least they did until another Ronald Reagan again came to the surface. His name is Donald Trump. That was their worst nightmare. So he's been saying they've had people on both sides of the aisle, except for JFK and except for Ronald Reagan. And that's why his assassination attempt against JFK. That's why there was attempted assassination attempt against Ronald Reagan. And that's why there's been assassination attempts against President Trump. Wasn't
it George Bush Sr. done the attempt on Reagan's life? I think he was a CIA director at the time as well.
because they were not inside people.
Well, when was this prophetic word?
That one was February 21st, 2022.
Okay, so on the other end of the break, we'll get into more detail this, but it was confirmed today by a guy that's an expert, forensics, that there was 2 shooters against President Trump in July, and the kid that shot from a very influential person. I'll just say that. The Federal Reserve System, criminal cartel system, will be fully exposed, such as the control of the Treasury loans, the manipulation of foreign exchanges, the control of credit and the money supply. They're only some of the architects. More will be exposed.
Wow. See, God said that the Federal Reserve was part of the establishment. It was part of that corporation that was our country was made into, because, of course, we know our country is supposed to be a republic. And so I am so excited because these things, okay, like we were talking about that, like the Board of Education, like Federal Reserve, IRS, the Board of Education, all the USA, all these different things. People think they've been.
Diane, you know the worst conspiracy that never come true? Q. Everyone bought in the Q, but we didn't.
Around forever. They haven't.
No.
The Board of Education made actually the education worse for children instead of better. So what was the point? God's been talking to us about front corporations and agencies in order to siphon money and flow money through illegally, making it look like it's something good, making it look like it's a decent corporation or an agency or an entity, when actually it's a slush fund for them, for themselves and for the terrorists and for our enemies against this country. This is such a major fraud on a scale that is so unprecedented. And I know what God said. He was tearing apart the Federal Reserve, and he was going to show how evil the Federal Reserve is, and how it was made against us in order against our country, to bring our country down to bankrupt, and also to bring us enslaved to us as financial system, along with the IRS. These things were set in place to burden our country. It was never to be something that was supposed to make our country flourish. We are better without big government. And so in like the Federal Reserve, they're kind of like their own entity. They're kind of not, controlled by anything. So
Q is this conspiracy mob that claim they basically spoke for Trump. But hang on, dog. Yeah, Q was an organized conspiracy, but it turned out to be a failure.
It is the most insane thing, along with the UN being in our own country and our own soil. And that's another thing that God said he was going to bring down and literally rip it to shreds. And the whole UN, the WHO, the WEF, NATO, all these big global conglomerations, they're all going to become apart. The Federal Reserve, I cannot wait to see the day, because what they've done to the American people in this country has absolutely been horrendous.
It's coming. They're going to audit the Federal Reserve. There's talk. I think it's more than talk that Ron Paul would be the head of the Federal Reserve. President Trump is every day now saying bring interest rates down. He's not just saying that; he really means that. It's a showdown with the Federal Reserve, who controls the interest rates. But I was told, and President Trump made a comment the other day. You know his comments. You have to always pay attention deep to his comments. He said, maybe we're not as in much debt as we think we are. Well, there's 2 meanings behind that. There's a financial system that you got a peek of here in Texas that's going to help that along. But we've had so much fraud, waste, and RICO happen to this country that we are not in as much debt as what American people think. And once this all comes out, they're going to know the truth of that. So hang on.
God said the debt clock was a lie.
Yep.
And he's been talking about the fraud of that debt clock. It's not really our burden to bear. That's for sure. That's again to make it look one way when it's actually another way. So there is definitely a system that's going to come in. I mean, God's been talking to me about this for 3 or 4 years. I think it's been 4 years now, actually. But he's been saying, no. I've been online saying this, but I think he's been telling me this since 2010 or 2011. But I have prophecies, but they're in somewhere I don't know where at, so I couldn't even get into it. But they've been talking about how he's going to free us from a greater exodus in this country, because we've been under a financial burden, a spiritual and physical slavery. He calls them the pharaohs of today. It is the same system that Pharaoh enslaved God's people in the land of Goshen. So again, God is saying he was ripping it apart. That was a Babylonian or godless system without him. The one we're seeing now that controls all the economies around the world. And God said, not anymore and not today. I also, before really quick, I just got this from, thank you, Mary Little. This is brand new information, breaking news. A Border Patrol agent has officially been arrested in America or been brought back into America. Agent Manuel Perez Jr. of El Paso has officially been arrested. He's been charged and linked to human and cocaine smuggling. So there was a border agent that was a part of human trafficking and drug smuggling. And I know that I think Holman said that they know who the mole was who was giving out all the information in the leaks to ICE. So we're going to find out who that is as well too here pretty soon. I'm assuming the next couple of days, but I don't know.
It may be part of Pam Bondi's press conference today. I was told it was an FBI agent that leaked it. And then
Okay, they're not really doing many prophecies, are they? I might switch this. Like or not, Kim Clement, he did get things right.
Esau's story starts with a gift.
one of sacred filling of the soul, the Holy One. David lifted up
It was boring, wasn't it, Di?
his hands, lifted up his heart, and cried, "My soul seeks you, searches for you in a dry and a thirsty land." And caught up there where he stood, and suddenly the wind began to blow. He said, "My heart is steadfast, my heart is fixed. I will sing praise. Yes, I will praise you." He lifted up his hands and his heart, began to worship the Lord. Suddenly that dry and thirsty land was no longer dry and thirsty. But that consequence of the sacred filling of the soul, that the celestial light came to him as it comes to you right now. And suddenly darkness no longer seems an issue, because that one celestial ray brings light way beyond what we've ever seen.
Shut up and meet me halfway. Come on.
And the fire, suddenly the fire which comes with that spirit, set his consecrated nature on a blaze. You sense his spirit right now all over the world watching.
Lobo, this guy died 10 years ago, but it's amazing how many things he gets exactly right. Exactly right.
Don't hold back. Close your eyes. Lift your hands. And Holy Spirit, I pray, fill them right now. Fill them, Lord, right now. Beautiful. It's happening to you right now. As I said before, you can never overestimate the consequences of that sacred filling of the soul. Presently, right now, there is light, there is fire, and there is rain, there is water, heavenly dew. It removes famine and fertilizes our lives. Is present right now. Suddenly, there is no such a thing as past, present, or future. We are beyond the veil of limitation. Beautiful.
Come on, do some prophecies, Kim.
Suddenly David is surrounded by the celestial. He's no longer thirsty. He's no longer afraid. He is standing face to face with the Word. And says these words, "I'm alone, but yet I'm not. Living inside of me There's a fire that is consuming me. I am the King of Zion. Though my enemies come against me, I will praise him. Now I behave as a king and lift my hands. I live according to my destiny. I live according to the future that is present within me. Now, Lord, I pray for every man and woman all over the world.
Yeah.
They know there is a living destiny inside of them. Ignite it, Lord.
Lobo, I saw the Passion of the Christ before I was even Christian, and I admit he brought me to tears when he was getting crucified. It was horrific. It was really horrific. Have you watched The Chosen?
Let the faith of the future take over the present. I thank you for that. Wow. You guys feel what I felt? Was it just me? I was caught up. I was caught up for a few minutes, just absolutely taken by this whole thing. I feel like there's so many thousands of people that are just grasping at that light that is visible right now. Lord, I grasp that light that is present. Let them do it now. North, south, east, and west. Live, come to life.
Yeah. He's actually making Resurrection now, isn't he, Lobo? Mel Gibson? I think he is.
It was not wicked, it was beautiful. The hearts of the fathers back to the sons. The spirit of Elijah that is coming upon the earth. Oh, like we have never seen before. Why do you think he wants to kill our children? A sound like we have never heard before. Like I have never heard. I hope I live to see it. But there is something beyond this veil, a way that we can never imagine. I pray, Lord, that each warrior would receive just a glimpse of this future. That you will reign upon land, upon land, upon land. On schools, colleges, prisons. Let that church emerge that we know about, that is in existence. In existence. Now, Lord, I'm back in the year 2013. This is 2027. Where will I be? The children that you've given to us to look after. and the many thousands and tens of thousands that we will reach.
Wow, what's making him cry?
Lord, I pray for strength in every person's life right now.
No, I don't mean watching now. I mean when you get a chance. It's a really good depiction of Jesus.
No. I pray, Lord, our children, our grandchildren, our descendants would be blessed and that they would possess the gate of the enemies. I pray for that. Pray for America, a land of free, brave, not the cowards. I pray they would rise up again, the lion countries, because we have a servant of the Lord from originally Scottish, Australia, yet 2 other countries. He will still plant his feet.
He will not plant his feet, or he will.
They would rise up again, the lion countries, because we have a servant of the Lord from originally Scottish, Australia, yet 2 other countries. He will still plant his feet. Pray for him and his
Guys, I know about this, the revival in Australia. I know about this.
family. I pray for every home and life represented here
By the Holy Spirit, not my own knowledge.
today. And Lord, whatever happened here would be taken into their homes and spread like wildfire. I give you thanks. What I feel, my faith tells me, my prophetic faith tells me that it's going to be okay. How do I know this? Okay, let's talk about a little bit about time, so we can just get on the same page. Because what Apostle Ellis did on Saturday was begin to tell us something very important. Taught many of you something. Many wrote in and said they were so greatly blessed by you dealing with that, because it is a major problem that even Jesus dealt with. Jesus himself spoke about the fact that they did not discern the time, and that was a huge problem. Now let me share something about the variations of time. There are times of trouble, times of chastening, times of crisis, times of opportunity, appointed times, times of judgment. However, and this is what we've got to remember, times of refreshing, times of restoration. God gave us these times for a reason. Now, you may be going through something, and as Solomon so wisely told us, there is a time and a season for everything, and goes through the opposites, which means whatever you possibly are going through now, you will have the opposite very soon. We've seen that. Why is it that we think persecution should not be a time, but it should be a dwelling? Why is it that we feel as Christians that because Jesus said we are going to be persecuted, that we will be constantly persecuted? There are only times for that. So I want to remind you that there are also times of refreshing, times of restoration, times of healings, times of prosperity, times of opportunity. There are beautiful things out there that we're not looking for because we are so moved by what's happening at the present time. You know, I shared this before when we were talking about Matt and Mia's surgery. And I came on this platform and I said, I called them Miracle Matt and Miracle Mia. And I was reminded of that because I had already seen the outcome. So in other words, I'm not drawing faith from my present time. That's not enough. You have to.
Okay, that's not exactly prophecies, Kim. Hang on. There's an ad. Hang on, guys. Right, that's it.
For the past several days, there has been a great heaviness in the air if you're praying. Obviously, we're seeing things in the news that are just transpiring right in front of us. We're watching a number of nefarious activities that are taking place, and we're being teed up and geared up for something that I believe is to the tune of a great false flag event. And the great false flag event is something that involves mass casualty. I believe it involves airlines. I believe it involves
Everyone's going on about the airlines, aren't they, guys?
obviously you're seeing
That's because something's putting a I don't know, something's putting their GSP offline.
Pete Hegseth comes out and talks about Taiwan, the things that are transpiring around these issues. And I've been in a place of prayer for the last 24 hours, just really interceding over the nation. Heather and I were both just praying over America. We're praying over the nations right now and the way things are going. And of course, there's going to be a response from Putin with what's happened over there. And so there's a number of things you see in the natural that are
Oh, yeah, and he got burnt, didn't he? We love you, Lars, but he got burnt.
Holding right in front of us right now. And so I didn't even go into my studio to do this. I just am live here with you right now because I sense something. Now, there's great hope in what I'm going to go into here because I do believe that the Spirit of the Lord has an answer for every problem darkness tries to throw. So this is not in any way a doom or gloom thing, but if you're sensitive, you know something's up, okay? And I'm going to go into details here. I've been reaching out to some of my prophetic friends, talking with them. They've seen visions of what is unfolding and even unfolded with some of the terrible loss of life we saw in this last week. They saw it in advance and we were talking about it, and I'm processing through it because one of the big things I care about very much is prophetic accuracy and with hope attached to it, so we can pray. But right now, I need to tell you, I feel that there is a compromise that has worked its way into the administration. I know that's not a popular thing to say or go down the road on, but I'm going to say this. Number one, the mass surveillance circumstance that we're seeing unfold is beginning to get very strong. I believe in this process, not only is that an issue, I believe we are on the brink of a catastrophic global war. And this catastrophic global war is something that I believe we can put a
I think we're on the brink of that right now.
Stop to through prayer and intercession, which the Lord has so many people praying and interceding over. But let me go into this further. Here's the great sense I have. Some time ago, if you've watched and you've been a part of my programs, you saw me prophesy, say things that as much as we're celebrating all the good in this administration that I love so dearly, there's also a moment that was coming that I was praying about and leaning into. Hey, good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. Please repost this if you can, and subscribe to the Joseph Z YouTube channel if you can. But let me say, the scenario that I'm praying against and looking at is I don't know how or what the mechanism is, but there has been an influence inside the administration that is either one, not giving all the data that's needed to make good decisions. Excuse me.
Lobo, I think there's something to that. What do they call it? Atlas. I think there's something to that.
I
just picked you up 5 minutes ago. Jump.
There is pressure.
Come on,
and
jump.
It's like a game of chess that is putting pressure to make decisions that we would not agree with and we didn't vote for. That is starting to come forward right now. I've been feeling it for the last several days. There's been a great change and a great mechanism, everything from Elon's black eye all the way to some of the decisions we're seeing and things that were allowed to happen over the last several days. Now, I believe we are on the cusp of something turning for the negative. And, the good news in this is, thank God we're praying. Thank God we can stand in faith and favor. I love our president. I'm standing in agreement with the people that God's put in office, and we pray for the leaders of our land. But having said this, there is something that is compromising what we all agreed for to get in to the highest seat of the land. Now, thank God we have a faith office.
Nah, she's missing Gabe, Di. She's looking for Gabe. That's why she hops down every 5 minutes.
God, we have the things we have, and I am standing firmly with what God has put there. But let me now get to it. I believe this. I believe there's a false flag event coming that's going to involve mass casualty. And one of the things that I'm greatly praying over is I've had this word for a couple of years. You've seen us put it out about airlines. And we saw at the beginning of the year the multiple fires that broke loose when I released that word on Decapolis. Then we saw California burst into flames and other locations. But I believe that's part one to that prophecy. I believe, that we got to keep praying for our leaders. I am not in any way going at them. I'm just simply saying to you, it is my job to report what I'm sensing and praying about. And without getting into all the gymnastics and prophetic symbolism, I'm going to try to just drop right down to what I believe is taking place. Number one, I believe that this mass casualty event will involve boots on the ground. It will involve a number of things that could indeed be how can I say it? This tie into that word on Decapolis, where there would be 10 cities burning at once symbolically. Now, I am not hoping for this. I am praying against it. I'm standing against it. All these things, but let me also say this. In agreement with the Spirit of the Lord God, God wants there to be life. But I do believe one of the mechanisms that I am so praying against is that they would let a nuke off the leash. One of the agencies or one of the nations involved in the great conflict right now would be letting off something very, very monumental, like earth shaking. Then I sense this. Amen. I'm agreeing. No chaos in Jesus' name. No chaos. So I'm not trying to be an alarmist, not at all. But I've got to say this. This is for the purpose of prayer and changing the outcome. But we've got to talk about it. So with that, this mass casualty thing, they're going to try to bring chaos, and they want to bring a form of fear and shaking. And it is our job to not be afraid. So let me tell you the narrative I see. I believe we've entered a 3-year time frame. This 3-year time frame is going to be filled with a variety of things. But the reason I know that in my spirit, when I'm looking at this, I see a false flag coming. It'll either be nuclear, and then everybody will run to the table, and it won't continue. The wicked lizard overlord, tongue-in-cheek, of course, global pervert mafia elites would love to see a catastrophic global nuclear event. I don't believe the Lord's going to allow that, but I do see that one would get let off the leash. And if this begins to happen, the way that I've been praying against it since the beginning of the year, because I thought we were coming into a time of peace, but it looks like things are ratcheting up even beyond what people had anticipated. And so if this begins to unfold, then what's going to happen is I believe there'll be a rush to the table. I believe it will begin to bring more stringent.
Okay, guys, I might switch to Tony for a while. This guy's a bit boring too. There's not much out there for 2026 yet.
Told me I should check out a video about a man who discovered some sort of strange object that apparently was a UFO of some sort. He had taken the object and he was asking those in his comment section, those in the live stream, what he should do with the object, how should he test it, what should he do with it, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to go through this because apparently the guys went offline for a couple days already after something strange happened to him when he tried to drill into it. Now, some are wondering if this is legit. Some are wondering if it's a very craftily created story. Now, if it is craftily created, it's very, very convincing. Okay, so that's the concern.
Diane, that's just causing the planes to go haywire then.
Is he just a really good, I guess,
Hey, Vars, good to see you, mate.
What do you want on a low level? Kind of like the Blair Witch Project, kind of like just knows how to make it so people believe it. Or is it the real deal? Is this the real deal? We're going to go through all these clips. It's really crazy, actually. I'm not sure what to think of this yet. And we're even going to go through some analysis on this from another channel who not analyzed this. I'm going to tell you my 2 cents in the end, all that kind of stuff. Let's check out some of these clips. Check this out.
So I have it in this box here outside of my car, just to be safe. When I get close to it, I almost feel like throwing up. It's kind of weird, but it seems like the thing is, it seems like it's alive and it's dying. It's vibrating in patterns and it's vibrating weaker and weaker each time. So if I die, know that I did.
So, of course, what's interesting about this is we know that there is some sort of radiation on it. According to him later doing some measurements on it, it does have radiation, allegedly, according to him, because he did measurements later. Now, we're going to get into a ton of clips from this guy, but at the same time this is all occurring, the story that has sort of captured a lot of people of recent, we also have a documentary that was just released about UFO disclosure. Now our GOV is saying, yes, 100% aliens do exist. All right, check this out.
For high-ranking government officials. My colleague Brett Baer speaks with the director and producer of The Age of Disclosure.
We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours.
They have both deactivated and activated nuclear weapons with both the United States and Russia.
These are otherworldly things that are performing maneuvers that haven't been seen.
The UAP activity surrounding nuclear weapons is not a historic issue. It's an ongoing issue.
Well, joining us now to talk about his new film, The Age
Hey,
of
Dave, good to see you,
What's interesting
mate.
about this is now they're coming out telling us all this. They've been hiding it for many, many years. Or is it really carefully crafted itself? Are these beings actually from other planets, or are they something more nefarious, something darker, from other dimensions, perhaps fallen angels or demons or something like that? This is what some people are speculating about. Also, people within the government itself, higher up, saying that's what they thought it was, demonic. We don't know what it is exactly, but for some reason, the activity has been increased over the last year or so with what we saw with the New Jersey drones back about almost a year ago, about 11 months ago at this point. And that was insane. And by the way, at the end of this, when we go through this guy's entire story, he shows an orb that actually somehow comes at him. And this is where the whole live stream goes down. And the live stream has almost got 400,000 views after this occurred. We'll get into that at the tail end of this, and then we'll analyze all this stuff. The question is, though, what's really coming? We got the 3-Eye Atlas thing going on. A lot of strange things with regards to that of recent. The fact that it was going by so many planets at such close proximity defies just random chance. We saw all the strangeness regarding 3-Eye Atlas. We've already covered it on this channel. You have Stefan Burns covering it as well. Apparently they got a better image of 3-Eye Atlas. We have a guy showing it spinning. Very bizarre stuff with these weird projections from it. Check this out.
Our view. Now we go forward one more here. And we see the same image, this time detailing the 5 different jets that were found. Here's a sunward one. There's one going this way. Here are the other 3 like this.
Oh,
Here are
come on,
the
I'm sick of
the
picking you
Chalmers,
up.
the Captious, Jaeger, and Raymond. And this is the solar direction, so going this way. So that's the sunward side over here. And Atlas at this time, 3-Eye Atlas is zooming away from the sun like this.
Right.
Well, here's our latest, or here's an image after that. And I can actually pull up when these were. Yeah, the first one was the 8th. This one is now the 9th of November. And I have all of these linked in the video description. So if you want to go to the people that found this, it's all linked in the video.
So look at how that looks. It does not look like a normal comet. It has such an erratic look to its tail.
Description.
So here we see this tail really popping out now. We again still have that sunward facing jet. This is from a totally different astronomer. Two different looks at it. And because the day's gone by, it's a little bit easier to image that tail. They also may have used different techniques to kind of pull it out a bit more. But we see that 3i Atlas, after its closest approach to the sun, is clearly now off-gassing a lot. And so what happens, that means that it has a very porous surface where these volatiles that are ice can directly sublimate to gas.
I think he's right, because it's made of nickel as well, and it has very little gas, from what I understand. So it must be more, or at least it appeared to have very little gas. And he's saying that it was porous and there was actually inside of it more. And that's what I think he's trying to conclude from that. So that's kind of interesting. Obviously, we're not trying to talk about 3i Atlas here, but there's been a lot of updates on that of recent as well. Getting back to this man's story, he found this object in sort of a deserted area. Check out some of the stuff that he's saying about this.
Okay, guys. Well, it's pretty reflective, so I guess I'll stand kind of out of the way. But here it is again.
Wow.
It feels pretty cold today, by the way.
Wow, wow.
Like cold to the touch. Again, I'm not touching with my hands. Touching with gloves this time. Hasn't burnt me yet. Hasn't caused any feelings so far.
And there's some really bizarre things about this, because a lot of people are just saying, oh, he just made this. Actually, it doesn't appear so. This is not actual normal metal. And he proves this. This part here is not normal metal, because it doesn't have any magnetism to it. This also is not a sphere. It's actually straight, and then it kind of curves in, and it has some weird symbols all over it on both sides. He said he saw this thing come down, and that he saw the thing sort of as a UFO at first, and then he saw it come down, and this is when he went and grabbed it. And we actually got a lot more clips. He brought it into sort of a secure area. I think this is maybe his basement or something.
How does that happen right when I'm recording too, by the way? That never ever happens. But first of all, that's going to be annoying. Okay. Wow, this thing has a mind of its own. Look at this. It doesn't want me to get a clear video of it. I'm going to walk in here. Look at my other hand. It's doing nothing. I'm not turning any lights off. This is insane right now. Okay, there it is. I'm keeping it locked in this room. It's kind of like a dungeon. Stupid light. Hopefully it's just the light, not anything.
It could be just a bad light, right? I mean, it could be theoretically. We're going to get into, like I said, more. As we get farther into this video, he starts trying to do random tests on it with radio signals, water, wood, drilling on it, a lot of different stuff. And then when he tries to drill it, that's when the stuff goes crazy. All right. First of all, I got to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. You're going to definitely want to get this if you haven't.
Who, this guy died? The guy who reckons he found a UFO.
Not already. 4 months worth for $697. Link is in the description. You've seen how our world has been over the last 5 years. It's always wise to be prepared for whatever might be next. Link is in the description. Also, this book here, The Lost Ways, how your great-great-grandfather lived without electricity, how to build a cellar, do things around the house.
Okay, well, in that case, we can't watch that.
At Woolworths, save all season on Pepsi soft drink cans 375ml 30-pack at a summer price.
On all around us, in the stores, in our workplaces.
They're talking about flying cars, robots in your home, and AI replacing you. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. And actually, we've got a lot of strange things to get into. Some very bizarre stories from the last day or so to get into in this video.
So there's a quiet shift that's going on all around us, in the stores, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods. And things are changing here in America. Some people say that some of these things are progress and others say it's control. So I'm going to share with you several different stories. And as you watch, I want you to ask yourself, which one of these worries you the most? And share down below because there are quite a few different things that are all taking place at the same time.
Now check this out. It starts out with digital ID. And I just saw a story that I'm going to share after I play this clip here that shows you what they were doing was 100% a joke. Check this out.
How stupid do they think we are? So they create this huge problem and then they come at us and say, oh, we've got the solution to the problem that we created in the first place. They have my passport, my driver's license, my birth certificate, my marriage certificate. What else do they need? They don't need anything else. I am begging anybody out there that's got anything going on up here, do not comply. Do not.
All right, now check this out. I just saw the story earlier today. So then the UK, they now have this digital ID, right? The entire point, one of the selling points was that we're going to stop illegal immigrants from being in our country using this ID. Now, of course, I knew way back when they said they were going to come out with this that this was a joke. Now we have the evidence. Today we had a story come out where they said that they're going to make it easy for those that are legal in their country to become legal. Of course they're going to do that. They're going to make it so it's easy for them to sign up and become a citizen. And of course, completely backing off what they originally said this was for, they make a problem, illegal immigration. Then they bring in the solution, but then they still keep the illegal. See what I mean?
Comply. I sure as shit ain't gonna.
Okay, so then she keeps going. I want to see what this guy has to say down here.
A few months ago, some of you saw my call yesterday where my manager, who is an AI,
yeah, I'm a dead Vast, no doubt about it.
for the first time got me
Moo
on a
Moo,
voice
they're
call.
talking about
And
you,
it was an
Moo.
extremely unhinged call. See it if you want to. But many of you in the comments posted that she was unhinged and
What the hell? Dude, what? His manager is an AI? What? My manager is an AI, and it called him up and yelled at him. What?
who is an AI, for the first time got me on a voice call. And it was an extremely unhinged call. See it if you want to. But many of you in the comments posted that she was unhinged and
Oh my God. What? He's got an AI boss that yells at him? Dude, what the heck? Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, well, we got an advertisement. Actually, it's kind of interesting because I'm going to get into in a minute here about the new global diet in a little while here. This guy is going to say something about food that he found in the store. We'll just go on to the next topic in this video. I'll get into that later.
Diane posted a link on the plastic food they're going to sell us. The phony meat, the artificial meat.
With the food. We'll start off with some streamers. We have here Hassan Piker, of course, the guy that was famous for shocking his dog. Apparently, there's a music video of him going viral right now, and it's kind of funny.
Shot my dog, I can't stand. Yeah, shot my dog, I can't stop. Yeah, shot my dog until she drops. 2,000 volts straight in her top. Cause my dog can't stay in her spot.
So, of course, it's AI, right? Look at it, it's pretty good, man. This guy obviously used AI to make it, probably used Sora AI. And, of course, he recently went viral for not being popular in his favorite country of China. Apparently, no one really knows who he is in China, except for the fact that they know he shocked his dog. That's about the only thing he's known for there.
Did he sell it to the Chinese to eat?
Hassan went to China thinking he would be received as a celebrity, just to learn that Osmond Gold was more popular than him. And this is what the Chinese think of him. We don't like you. Laugh all loud. Delete my comment again. I dare you. You electrocuted your dog. So this is what he's famous for now. Especially in this communist country that he thinks is a utopia.
Last, when I went to Bali a year ago, the airline food, I got the chicken, and the chicken come, and it was like tumours. It wasn't flat chicken or anything like that. It was like tumours, like about the size of a golf ball. And nowhere in a chicken do tumours like that show up. So I'm guessing it was artificial meat. It was horrible. I didn't even eat it.
The people actually like a conservative streamer, Osmongold, and it's just hilarious to watch. So you got that. You got Matt Walsh coming out saying we need to be concerned about AI self-clones. Don't talk to them. This is weird. Matt Walsh warned on X that upcoming AI technology enabling FaceTime-like conversations with realistic digital twins of oneself will cause widespread psychological issues and harm. This is weird, man. I didn't know they were going to have a, like, why would you make that? Why would you make another version of yourself and talk to yourself? That's so weird. Honestly, I don't know, man. I mean, he might be right. I don't know. That might be a really bad idea. Obviously, some people are into these weird things with AI now. I think it's better to just make jokes and funny music videos like this one here than to be making a duplicate of yourself and talking to yourself. That's just so bizarre. At any rate, so we're going to get into, like I said, a ton of stuff. BlackRock faces 100% loss on private loan. And we got something about BlackRock we're going to talk about in a minute. We got these companies acting strange. BlackRock looking for a bailout through 50-year mortgages. I talked about that already. It's very obvious our president's got some weird stuff going on right now. A lot of people are pointing it out. He's saying some very bizarre things. We're going to get into that in a little bit. He's against the files, being released, but then he's
hey, Shawnee, welcome back.
To be not part of it. So why would he have a problem with them being released if there's already all this evidence, which I'm going to show you some of the evidence, that he was not a part of it at all? It's so weird. You have here Sam Altman backtracks on CFO's government backstop talk, meaning he was looking for a bailout for his OpenAI company. All these companies were looking for bailouts of recent. And at the exact same time, you have Sam Altman with his husband, I didn't even know he's gay, fund a startup to edit genes. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is insane. The dude is starting all these
disgusting. Look at that. That's disgusting.
Companies that are not exactly what I would call the best future for us. You know what I mean? I mean, these are like from the sci-fi movies we've watched, right? I'm trying to think of the one. Was it Gattaca or something like that, where they were doing this type of stuff? It was from like 20 years ago. At any rate, so we got that. We're going to get into, like I said, a ton of stuff. We got these big stories. Elon coming out saying these robots are going to solve poverty and give us high income. I'm like, what is he talking about? We'll get into that.
Dave, you're forever in debt with a 50-year mortgage. We got 20-year mortgage here. That's all we got.
He's talking about flying cars. We're going to get into that as well. We're going to get into, actually, they're talking about new technology to make you live or allow you to live to 150. We'll get into that as well. And actually a ton of other stuff, some clips from Bill Maher, Joe Rogan, and also get into what's going on with the president and much more. First, I'm going to mention food supply. 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months plus an extra month or 4 months worth for $6.97. They have other options available as well. Go check it out. You might want to get prepared for whatever.
I'd probably order that if it was in Australia.
Sci-fi movie ending we have here in a not so distant future. Also get this book as well as you're losing your electricity. You might want that. $35, get the printed version. How to Live Without Electricity, The Lost Ways, and go check out all my other social media link below. I'm on X and other social media as well. Let's get back to the video. So I thought this is really interesting. This is from Jack Morgan. He's talking about how life doesn't seem to make sense anymore. Everything is just bizarre. This is a really interesting one here. 50-inch TV for $130, but your phone is $1,000.
No, that was the last guy, Lobo, the one who was going to cut open the so-called UFO. That was a phony, not this guy. We like this guy.
Does that even make any sense? Check this out.
I'm thinking it used to be TV controlled the mind. But now we all just have them in our pocket. This is like $1,000. And you get a 50-inch one of these for something's up with that. Something's up with that.
Yeah, that's really bizarre, actually. The prices are getting weird. Like, your food is going up really high in price, but then these TVs, a 50-inch TV for $128. I remember standing.
Because they know they're going to. I think it's because they know they're not going to use big TVs in the near future. I think they'll have that much control. Why else would they be selling big screens like that for $150? They don't want to just, I don't know.
In line on Black Friday to pay $600 for like a 38-inch or something. Like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. Back when we actually did Black Friday. Yeah, like $128 for 50 inches is insane. Yeah. That's like ridiculous. I mean, my wife was telling me about this steak restaurant in our city, and I live in one of the cheapest cities in America. But this is one of those more expensive, pretty much higher end.
Lobo, we are at end of days. We believe we're in the last days of the Bible now.
Restaurants, and there was a steak that cost $137. I think it was a 40-inch steak. The steak costs more than this TV. The steak costs more than this TV. At any rate, so of course, then we got this here. Apparently, Elon's telling. I don't know what he means by this. This doesn't make any sense to me. Optimus, our robot that we're going to release, will be able to do surgery in your home. You will have free healthcare. We'll eliminate poverty and provide universal height. Where is this money coming from? What is he talking about? Let's just play this. This is so bizarre. I don't know what he's trying to get at here. Let's just play this.
You know, people often talk about like eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with the Optimus robot. With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care. Optimus will ultimately be better than the best human surgeon with a level of precision that is beyond human. So I think that's a pretty wild concept.
I don't think I'll be letting any robot check my prostate, to be honest, guys.
To say, okay, if you know, we've always talked about eliminating poverty, but actually Optimus will actually eliminate poverty. Optimus will actually give people incredible medical care. You know, people often talk about like,
how is he going to eliminate poverty? Like, what are you talking about, dude? They can't even afford the robot in the first place. How are they going to eliminate poverty with it? Tesla Optimus catching a ball. Okay, you caught a ball. Wow, great. Good job there, dude. So you can catch balls, apparently. Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Terminator. Exactly. What the heck, dude? I don't know. I'm trying to understand how this is going to get rid of poverty. I understand what he's saying about, I guess, some weird scenarios. Like you help around the house, do things like this. I guess you could rent out your robot and he can make you money that way. I don't know what he means by it's going to make me money. How am I going to get lots of money from a robot? Doesn't even make any sense. Of course, you're talking.
Get him out mowing the neighborhood lawns.
About this high income universal. It doesn't make a lot of sense to think about it. You won't have to work anymore because all the robots are doing the work. Well, then why would they pay me? Who's going to pay me? Oh, the GOV. And like the GOV's not already got little strings attached to everything. Like they're not going to add more. Makes no sense.
Dave.
You got Elon also talking about a Tesla.
Exactly, Dave. It'll take jobs.
A flying car. Check this out.
So are you actively considering making an electric flying car? Is this like a real thing?
Well, they have to see in the
demo. So when you do this, like, are you going to have a retractable wing? Like, what is the idea behind this?
Don't be sly. Come on.
I can't do the unveil before the unveil.
Right.
Is that okay? Whatever. So, my whole thought on this is like all these interesting new technologies used to seem cool back like 15 years ago. Now it's like you're just thinking to yourself, how can this go wrong? This is what you're always thinking. You're like, robot. Oh, that movie Terminator 2. I remember that. You know what I mean? Like you don't like back in the old days when we used to watch Star Trek. You're like, oh, it's like kind of positive, and it's like, oh, we could have a great future with technology. Now it's like not that at all. Not even remotely anymore. You're like wondering how it would even ever be good, right? That's what you're kind of wondering.
This Christmas, dash straight into great deals at IGA. Like Australian House avocados, only $1.50 each. And Country Chef Bakery Co. pavlova base, 500 gram, $8 each. You can't beat local at Christmas.
The bowel cancer screening test. Your risk increases as you get older, so get to it.
Driving on toll roads should be simple, and yet missed payments can turn into extra fees and stress. With a linked account, you can manage tolls on the go and avoid the extra fees and paperwork. Download the linked app and pay for tolls the easy way.
Now apparently scientists are developing and this isn't even a drug. It has to do with grape seed extract or compound, which destroyed aged cells, extending their lifespan by 9%. So they're talking about you'll be able to live 150 years with some sort of grapeseed compound, which is kind of hilarious because I remember watching this documentary, and it was from like, I don't know, this was like 20 years ago I watched this. And they went to this remote tribe in the middle of nowhere. Never saw modern humans, just an Indian tribe in the middle of nowhere. They were all living to like 120 years old. And as soon as they got in contact with us and started learning our ways, their lifespan dropped like 20, 30 years instantly. And what they were doing is they were eating seeds all the time. And lo and behold, grape seeds make you live longer. That's so shocking. I mean, I learned about this like 25 years ago. It's like, what the heck, bro? You have like these remote tribes that have no technology figuring this out before you did. It's kind of funny, actually. Anyway, so you got that. Now we got this clip on Bill Maher of Russell explaining how Fox News and all these are really run.
Disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and it also may, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspective. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Morning Joe.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand.
Hi, Samantha. Welcome to the channel.
No one was willing to stick with American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about.
So, of course, this other guy responds eventually.
I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous. Make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend, Russell, darling, the moment that you give me a specific example, an actual example.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Wait. It's not about bias. It's a false equivalency because you don't actually know anything about any of these organizations you're talking about. Even on MSNBC ones, big.
I got to admit, I do like Russell Brand. He's such a mugler.
Oh my goodness, he's offended. He's offended. you can't know anything about news unless you're on one of these corporate, big, huge shows. Then you'll know everything because you're sponsored by BlackRock, right? Then we got this here. We got apparently our president revokes endorsement for MTG over, and this is the most
Lobo, not cool to ask are they single. This isn't Tinder.
bizarre reason why. Over the files. Like, seriously? Over the files. And I covered this over my other channel because the whole thing is really, really bizarre. Let me show you what I'm referring to. So here we have his post over on his website withdrawing support and endorsement for MTG in Georgia. And then he goes on to record all of his achievements, which I think, honestly, he's like overstating it, I would say, a little bit, especially about the economy, for sure. But some of the other ones are true. He goes on to say, creating the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago. I think it's a little overselling it. All these, and then she says she's wacky, complaining a lot, and, goes on and on about it. And what's so weird about it is we had these email dump about, Jeffrey, the guy with the island. And there are the most ridiculous things written in some of these emails that we can easily refute, debunk, whatever you want to call it. We had here even where it said that our president spent Thanksgiving back in 2017 with Jeffrey, which is absolutely ridiculous, while he was president. When actually we can actually document what happened that day. You can even go to CNN and read about it. What happened on November 23rd, back that year. And you find out that he was at his own house celebrating it. You can even look at his entire itinerary for the day. He never went there. So it was like straight up made up. Then they claimed in the emails in one spot that our president had a relationship with a former president. No joke.
And he's got the skateboard Vas gave him.
These things are ridiculous, easily refutable. But for some reason, they're saying that our president revoked his endorsement of her. Well, maybe she's the one claiming. I think she's the one claiming that it was over the files. He never said that, though, I think is what it is. And I don't know if it's, you know what? It's kind of weird. Maybe he has somebody he knows. Or
that's right. I
skate to get some of these people, because we clearly have him going after this guy right here, for one. Matter of fact, and his wife, we had two different directions they're doing it already. He already even asked for them to look into the files. Our president said, I will be asking Pam and the DOJ to investigate it. In a relationship with Billy and the Hillmeister. And then there's also another thing opened up for corruption on him. So they're already looking into him from two different directions. So it's just really bizarre. I don't really think that's the reason why he's taking a stance against MTG. I don't think that's what it is. I think what it might be is because she's been going on all these other podcasts, and we're seeing a rift in the right now. We're seeing those that are calling themselves MAGA and those that are calling themselves America First separating. And so some people that are on the side of First are getting sort of popular, and it looks like MAGA is sort of splintering, breaking up, and maybe he's very upset over that. I don't know. I think he's making it worse, though, by revoking endorsement of her. He's making it actually worse. I don't know why everybody's making so many ridiculous missteps. It feels like they're all just fighting for no reason and just making a lot of stupid missteps. And it's all over this, from what I can tell, it's mainly over this country in the Middle East. That's pretty much what it's over, which is insane. It's ridiculous. We should stop talking. You know what? Honestly, I've gotten sick of talking about that country. It's getting ridiculous at this point. I would rather us just focus on our country and ignore them. I don't know why they got to be part of any picture. They could be by themselves. Matter of fact, they even said recently they want to be on their self-sufficient and by themselves. They've been coming out saying that on their own side. Let them be self-sufficient. They want to be self-sufficient there in the Middle East. Let them be. We'll be self-sufficient over here. They can be over there. At any rate, so there's that. Also wanted to get into a few other things. Apparently, they now have the Steam console, game console. Steam is a app that you usually have on the PC, and you have all your games in there. It could be from Microsoft, could be from anywhere. Games that you would see on multiple consoles are all in Steam. And now Steam is making its own console, which will mean that you can have all your games from Sony, Microsoft, all over the place, all in one place, and play them all on one system.
You almost had me there. I'm not gonna lie. You almost had me. All right, what's actually happening?
I'm serious, sir. Steam is coming out with the Steam Machine. It's a PC, but you can plug and play it onto your TV, like a console.
What do you mean console? Steam has my games on it.
Yeah.
Get Xbox on the line right now.
What do you want? Did you know about this? What? I'm on the other line arguing.
Yeah, Xbox got ripped off really bad. To play your Xbox, you got to go through some server that you got to pay $4 a month for. It's not free anymore with Xbox. PlayStation's still free. I've got a PlayStation.
TikTok and Instagram Reels.
Lobo, do you play PlayStation games?
Steam's coming out with a console. Console? I thought it was just a PC.
They told you. They tell you what a good skater I am and how I taught them everything they know.
So, of course, now you can play all your games, whatever games you bought on Steam, on this console that they're coming out with right now. Kind of interesting. I might actually get it, actually, because I have a lot of games on Steam. So, at any rate, so you got that. And I showed this video over my other channel about how they're...
You're a funny bugger, Lobo.
Coming out with this new global diet that we're all supposed to partake in. It's supposed to make us healthier in the world. And here we have Steak and Butter Gal talking about this. Check this out.
Their own report. And get this, the authors, many of whom proudly call themselves ethical vegans, are saying that most of your calories should come from grains, about 775 calories out of a 2,000 calorie diet. Translation, bread, rice, cereal, repeat. Then right behind that, seed oils. Literally the same oils that were originally designed for engine lubricant and the same oils that are linked to inflammation and chronic disease are now a core.
I saw something on Facebook about vegetarians. I thought it was funny. It said, hang on.
Food group. And to top it all off, a big chunk of your remaining calories comes from, and you're going to love this one, sugar. So basically over half your diet would be grains.
Lost my train of thought, guys.
Seed oils, and sugar. And believe it or not,
Jeez,
fruits and vegetables only represent a tiny portion of this diet, just over 10%. Even most vegans I know would take issue with that. And come on, I'm an ex-vegan here. I used to be vegan for 6 whole years.
So she used to be a vegan.
Oh, that's right. I used to go to vegan Facebook sites and write a million plants are being slaughtered every day. Stop the murder, eat beef. And they don't like it. But something like that. It was a long time ago. Okay, you had to be there, I guess.
And now she's all about meat and steak and butter. All that, basically carnivore. She's a carnivore now. I'm not carnivore. I tend to be sort of keto-ish. I still eat. I don't eat any wheat or any, for most part, any grains. I do eat a little bit of rice and stuff like that. But let's see here. She talks about what they're excluding. This is pretty crazy what they're excluding. They don't want you to eat any meat, apparently, in this diet, or eggs, or anything like that.
fat. You get about 100 calories a day from dairy. So hey, maybe a few sips of milk or half a slice of cheese. When it comes to eggs, you're allowed 20 calories, and that's about a third of an egg. And for meat, real meat like beef, pork, or lamb, you get 15 grams. That's less than half an ounce. Fish?
So this is like the whole thing we saw with Billy Boy, the computer guy, Gates, coming out with his, weird stuff that he's doing with cows now. You got this weird feed to stop them from farting, I guess, because it's causing global warming, right? And they want to get rid of cows altogether. We had, I think it was the Norwegian government had a bunch of cows culled in their country because they were producing too much methane, which is polluting the planet, right? So this is the kind of people running the show right now. They literally want you to eat garbage, and they don't want you to have any meats at all. They want you to eat like locusts and stuff instead, apparently.
Shawnee, if guns kill men, or if guns kill people, spoons make people fat. So if you're going to ban guns because they make people kill people, you got to ban spoons as well because they make fat people fatter. That's, yeah.
No, I'm not going to eat any. Matter of fact, I'm not going to eat any of the stuff they said.
I'm not serious about that, of course.
I don't want any seed oils. That's one of the worst things ever. I'm not going to eat any bread because our bread here is not even real bread anyways. Yeah, so I'm not going to eat any of that stuff. I'm going to eat meat, eggs.
Yeah, Dave, I love my meat. I'm having a T-bone steak for dinner, actually.
I'm going to eat maybe some rice and some vegetables. That's about it. And, butter and milk and dairy and stuff like that as well. But it's just crazy that they're trying to propose this, and they're going to probably put it through in a lot of different ways through your supermarket and all the products in there. At any rate, you got that story. Then you got this. You got some crazy stuff going on. Joe Rogan here is talking about
what? No.
How it looks like America might have a civil war, right? What's interesting about what he said here is it's now happening in Mexico. So let me show you this. This is Joe Rogan talking about what's going on with these communists. And actually, let me just play this. Check this out.
What's happening here? Like, what are you nuts? This is nuts.
Steve Bannon. I wonder why he was kicked out of Trump's inner circle. Because he was part of the inner circle in his first presidency.
Okay, maybe I should back it up a little bit. So he's talking about a lady basically working at an insurance company, posting insane stuff online. And a lot of people are losing their minds, basically, is what he's saying. The left and right are really getting into a sort of a civil war sort of stance.
Whoa, and you work at an insurance company? This is nuts. And you thought it was a...
No way, Lobo. The Muslims cheat and do pork scratchings? Gee, they little cheaters.
Okay to say that on Instagram? This is nuts. This is nuts. Like, what are you guys on? Like, what's happening here?
Natalie Winters, particularly what happened at Berkeley last night was a full-scale riot outside, but the people that showed up, they packed it, and just shows you how many people want to go to the Turning Point things. What's your thoughts about this? Joe Rogan's now waking up, and I think it's a lot higher than 7, ma'am.
Well, look, I might have a radical take, but we are in the war room. I think it's fair to say that it's already underway. I maybe reject the framing of it as civil war. I think it's anything more of like a communist purge, as we were discussing a cult.
See, this is interesting.
It's certainly the beginnings of a civil war in America. That's what it looks like from here, guys.
She just said this. This was like a day or two ago. And guess what's happening in Mexico right now? Let me show you that.
This one in Mexico seems to, at the very least, have a good heart to it, right? What are they protesting against? What are these young kids protesting against? I mean, this footage of them tearing down the presidential palace. This is crazy. So the far left-wing, psychotic, Trump-hating, installed dictator in Mexico, her name is Claudia Sheinbaum. Anyway, she has done nothing in order to combat cartel violence. And the cartels effectively run all of Mexico, and many criticize her as being effectively just an agent of the cartels, somebody who's installed purely to serve the cartel.
So these guys, these young guys are
Mexico looks like the American Old West, look like kindergarten. You know what's going on with Mexico with the cartels, and they're fighting the government and they're killing the police and all that. It's probably the worst country in the world for that sort of stuff. It really is sad.
Conservative. It's just like in America.
And I think they're Catholic, which sort of explains a lot.
You have young guys that are more conservative, and the females tend to be more liberal. And so imagine if in America we got some really, really, really far left communist type, maybe like the Soran as president, then we could have some insanity like that going on in America, and then you have something like this happen, right?
Purposes. And as you well know, cartels just straight up murder with total impunity.
This is crazy, man. So you got that going on right now. Gen Z protesters storm Mexico City National Palace after mayor's cartel. Apparently he died. Wow. I didn't even know about that. So you got all these videos. I just showed you this. You got that going on. They actually broke into, I think, their main building, the palace, and started destroying it. So you got that going on in Mexico right now. And I mean, it's just insane.
Man.
At any rate, so I think that's enough for today. We'll get into more tomorrow. I kind of wonder what some of you guys think. And actually, I think tomorrow I'm going to get into some really strange things with not Three Eye Atlas, but the UFOs. There's this documentary came out, and I might actually.
Which is the one I played before, and Di said he tells lies, so I got rid of. Okay, I'll switch to JWT. I'll keep going as long as you're here, guys.
On great taste, low carb. How good.
Hours, this activation is official. Just confirm a major activation over the next 72 hours. This activation is officially out.
This guy's great on the volcanoes and earthquakes and that. He's probably the best dude on it.
On the website of UAF.
Let's see if I can find something. Oh, I got something else to play.
November 2025 transmission. This will go from the 17th. It started yesterday. I was a little late. I apologize about that, but nobody else is talking about this. It's going to go to the 22nd. This right here, you can see this green area, and that's because people started to see stuff just last night in Alaska, Fairbanks, with auroras. We ain't having a solar storm anymore. This is not the common auroras that we're seeing now that's showing up in the atmospheres, and this is going to travel, this frequency energy. We're going to say how it's going to affect you, where it's going to travel, what frequencies between the days these are going to be happening. We're going to get into all that different details. So remember, we just got hit with a big, massive solar storm, and the Alaska news source was saying that this was uncommon for us to see these auroras. Well, now we're going to go into a little deeper uncommon field as strange things starting to see pop up across the skies, and maybe you're starting to see that. Let us know, and you're starting to feel even more effects, and that's because we have entered a second phase now where we're going to be going through this each day. We're going to get all your comments and see what's going on with you. What is the strange sky disturbances you're seeing right now? Drop in the chat. Are you already feeling kind of agitated or weird in a certain type of way? Even myself, I was the other day, but let's go into this report. November 14th, they came out with it officially, document from Heart Program Office.
So I made that part of the net zero stuff. Get rid of spoons, you're eating too much. Get rid of cows, they're farting too much. Nothing's beyond them.
Notice of transmission. Heart will be conducting campaign research operating specific. The table below, frequencies vary, but all HARP transmissions will be between 2.75 MHz and 10 MHz. Actual transmit days and time are highly variable based on real-time ionospheric and geomagnetic conditions. So they're saying it's subject to change, meaning that there could be stuff happening that's not 100% known to us, but we do know over the next course of days, you're going to get an intensive amount of energy coming in. What can we do about that? We'll talk about that here. Woodland, California, last week just experienced a big whistling from the sky for a long time. Then a boom explosion in the Bay Area, the child of Yah says in the chat. That's interesting there. So people are experiencing that. Now
Dave, the Quran says you can beat your wife, and listen to this. You can beat her with a stick. That's what the Quran says. And then you see the hijabs everywhere, what are they called? Middle Eastern heat, and I got to wear cloth letter boxes on their head in Middle Eastern heat. The men can wear shorts, but the women are under these black hijabs or whatever they're called. It's so sad. And I don't understand why people follow that. They've got no sense.
Go deeper into what we're actually going to be going into as these situations start to occur, because your animals are going to start acting up too. You're going to see birds probably start to act a little bit weird. They got the ionogram showing everything. You're going to see some weird sky anomalies over the next few days. But we got exactly what's going to be taking place. So let's talk about that and get you into the situation at hand. So let's go down here. If you look at the bottom, the 17 is passed already, but now let's look at the 18. This is currently today. The experiment is at 4.29, 525, and 5.8 frequency. These are all in the low frequency range. And November 19th, same thing, 4.3, and they go up to 9.6. It gets a little higher there. November 20th, around the same thing. So what are we going to be experiencing is the big question. It's going all the way to November 20, pretty much the 22nd, there we go. But what are we going to be experiencing? Let's look deeper into this, and we're going to give you more information about that, because this is important here. This is going to be happening to you. You're going to be feeling this. Now, if we look into the effects of low frequency, what you can expect, probably you're feeling this right now, is melatonin levels are going to have effects on you. You might not be able to sleep. The cortisol could spike. Rhythms of the circadian system can start to have different feelings inside, neurological disturbances in the behavior. How many of you are already feeling that right now? I'm seeing in the chat that some people are saying that the timing with the geomagnetic storms in 3-Eye Atlas, I know, right? So the question is, why now? And to me, I seen all this energy coming in, and I was like, well, I guess this would be a perfect time for them to do this right now, as we've just experienced these situations in our bodies. And now it's like, let's go into the second phase of this and let's experiment a little bit more. And yeah, they can make artificial auroras. They can. They've already confirmed that. So nothing I'm saying is a conspiracy. Nothing I'm saying is like the guy was sitting on top of a roof somewhere screaming it's the end of the world. This is a confirmed situation. We gotta go deeper into it. Let's read a little bit more to you for the people that's just tuning in. We can get to some parts here. Official document. Don't know why the screen is black there. Let's go into this one. Campaign is being conducted in support, and here's the people who's doing it. University of Alaska, the Aerospace Corporation. These aerospace corporations, let me back up really quick. These aerospace corporations are the same ones that use these craft in the atmosphere as well. The same craft that can, either disappear, reappear. They can use the project, beam. These corporations are involved with this, and it happens to be that John Hopkins, who just showed us the solar disaster situation and came out with the Carrington event 2.0, they believe is going to happen. They're involved with this as well, so we gotta take notice of that. The University of Florida, John Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, Colorado University Aeronautical and Naval Research Laboratory is involved too. The National Science Foundation. And the scientific goals of these experiments includes the study effects of the ionosphere condition on high-frequency radio wave propagation generation, propagation of extremely low and very low frequency. This campaign will introduce Rayleigh LiDAR system as a new diagnostic tool for measuring temperature and density at an altitude of 11-85 kilometers. So we're talking about in the upper spots of the atmosphere. where their heating is going to heat and then it transfers. So even though you see this on the map where this is the specific location, it's going to transfer and it's going to go across different regions of the United States to Canada. It could be all the way into just different areas of literally Japan. So we're going to be seeing this, and this is not, you're not away from it if you're on the East Coast either, because this goes way up into the atmosphere, and then it just heats it right across there. My ears were ringing so bad the other night. People say, "Yeah, subscribe. You want to know what's going on? You're new tuning in. You're like, oh shoot, I didn't know anything about this. Nobody's telling me about this." Of course they're not, because we go into our own independent research. We investigate with the people, and then we find different details from you. So you help a lot of people over the next course of days. Get the clips in, sjackson2447@gmail.com. Whatever you see. I have specific things down that I need you to know. People saying their ears are ringing right now. I'm gonna help y'all out here in just a second. Give me sky anomalies, strange rumbling noises, compass or device interference. Let me know if that's happening. We had that during the solar storm, and you know, people had free energy power was on. It's because we have energy all in the atmosphere as we speak. That's the reason we shouldn't be paying power bills, because it's all in the ethers. But as soon as the storms start coming in, you need to notice something. If you have solar energy, solar grids, whatever, you're going to get more.
Vars, is Mecca underwater? I'll tell you what, they've had snow in that area this year. Some things are really weird happening with Mecca.
Transmission power probably coming in than you've gotten a long time. So if you store energy, that's going to be important. Geomagnetic disturbances, unusual lights or atmospheric flashes. I need you to comment that here in the comment section if any of you start to see that, and we need the clips. Somebody says, I love the channel.
Dave.
Okay, so here's what we got to get into. We're not done giving you all the information. I hope this one comes up, because
there is an urgent recall on solar home batteries. Affected batteries may overheat and catch fire, resulting in property damage, injury, or death. If you have an affected battery, immediately switch it off until it is remedied free of charge. Search LG Home Battery Recall to check.
Some extras cover looks clear on paper, until you go to make a claim. That's why AHM Black Extras offer a consistent percentage back on most extras up to your annual limits. With AHM, you're good.
Vars, we've been getting a lot of flash floods and bushfires the last 5 years, way more than normal. Especially the flooding.
Oh, how good is this? I'll have another cappuccino, please. RSPCA Lottery. Playing never felt so good.
Say goodbye to expensive dentist visits forever. Introducing the all-new 6th Gen silicone dentures, co-developed with world-leading dental universities and already trusted by over 100,000 customers in just 1 week. Right now, it's the lowest price online, clinically tested on thousands. These dentures fit 99% of people perfectly, no matter your age, tooth shape, or gum condition.
It was blacked out. All right, so this is the real-time situation we're dealing with. So it's going to get intense tomorrow on the 19th. It's going up to 9.6. There are certain things we can do about these experiments for the human body, and we're going to get into that here in just a second. But make sure you like this stream. Make sure you share this stream. Make sure the world knows. More people know about it. You're helping out people all across the world. People from Canada, UK, people from all the way in France are thanking everybody here on this channel, because we're connected in a way that a lot of people are not. So let's go back into this really quick. We're going to be experiencing, which people already experience.
Okay.
The mystery deepens with every passing year. Before the world was even aware of the shadow on the horizon, one woman, standing alone in her vision, spoke of an event so precise, so unsettling, that its accuracy years later is raising terrifying questions. She detailed a moment in 2026 that would not just change our daily lives, but fundamentally re-engineer the human experience. What makes this warning so chilling is that every
Wow.
major step she predicted leading up to it has unfolded with shocking, almost supernatural fidelity. Before we dive in,
Vast. I'm going to watch about 20 minutes of that. What link you just posted, and if it makes sense, I'll stream that tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's my Thursday, so I'm going to stream that tomorrow if it makes sense in the first 20 minutes. Looks good for me.
to the dark landscape of her most famous prediction, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe to the Interconnected Zone. We rely on your support to keep these deep dives coming. And if you find yourself captivated by this woman's story and her unsettling visions, consider becoming a member. The figure at the center of this controversy is Sylvia.
I love Christian Prince. I don't understand how he's not banned off YouTube, because I've been banned for a lot less than what he does. But yeah, I love Christian Prince. I use his arguments against the Muslims on Facebook. I join their sites and troll them. And I've never heard Christian Prince lose 1 point in an argument with the Muslims. They've never won 1 point against him.
Brown. She was far more than just another name in the world of American psychics. During her life, she became a cultural phenomenon, a familiar and reassuring voice.
Yeah, I don't watch him much now either, though. I used to at the beginning, but yeah.
Millions who sought answers beyond the realm of scientific explanation.
Okay, are we going to get her giving us prophecies or the voiceover?
With her notably composed demeanor and forthright style, she addressed topics ranging from the afterlife and personal destiny to large-scale global shifts. What truly set Brown apart from her contemporaries wasn't just her fame, but the astonishing specificity of her foresight details that appear to have materialized long after her passing. This enduring legacy is what continues to keep her name not only alive, but increasingly relevant and fear-inducing today. Born in 1936 into a deeply Catholic family, Sylvia Brown claimed from her earliest years to experience visions and hear distinct otherworldly voices. She attributed these messages to a spiritual guide she called Francine, who, she insisted, served as her direct conduit to a higher plane of cosmic knowledge. For decades, she broadcast these divine messages across major television and radio platforms and published them in dozens of best-selling books. She cultivated a massive, devoted following, particularly among individuals disillusioned with traditional institutions or those desperately seeking solace after the loss of a loved one. Even her fiercest critics conceded that she possessed a peculiar, undeniable talent for connecting with people's most profound fears and deepest, most primal hopes. While skeptics often dismissed her as a talented performer or an outright fraud, millions found profound comfort and unexpected clarity in her carefully chosen words. Yet, her persistent relevance today is rooted less in her charismatic teachings and more in the eerie, concrete accuracy of her most discussed pronouncements. The most globally recognized of these predictions appeared in her 2008 book, End of Days. In the pages of her 2008 book, End of Days, Sylvia Brown penned a few lines that at the time must have seemed bizarre, bordering on the impossible. She described the sudden appearance of a severe respiratory ailment that would sweep the globe in the year 2020. She detailed a pneumonia-like illness that would rapidly emerge, attacking both the lungs and the entire body, before mysteriously and abruptly vanishing. But the prophecy came with a second, terrifying chapter, a warning that the illness would return approximately 10 years later, reigniting worldwide confusion and panic. When COVID-19 surfaced in late 2019 and catastrophized the world in 2020, masses of people, desperate for context and explanation, instinctively turned back to that decade-old book. Page by page, Brown's words acquired a frightening new meaning. News organizations, discussion panels, and every corner of social media erupted with posts demanding to know, how could she have known this 12 years beforehand? The alignment was uncanny. The timing, the core symptoms, and the resulting global hysteria all appeared to perfectly match her original text. For some, this was just a massive statistical coincidence. For others, it was the irrefutable, undeniable proof that Sylvia Browne possessed a genuine, frightening capacity to see beyond the ordinary veil of human comprehension. The fulfillment of her 2020 prophecy gave people a strange, complex cocktail of emotions, a mixture of relief that the universe wasn't purely random, awe at her insight, but most intensely, a profound and paralyzing fear. If she was undeniably correct about 2020, what about the rest of her warnings? This brings us to the prediction now, drawing the most intense and fearful scrutiny, her pronouncement about the year 2026. This is a year she claimed would bring not merely a cyclical illness, but a far deeper, more fundamental transformation, a challenging, dark event that is far more difficult to define. And as that year approaches, the entire world, consciously or unconsciously, is beginning to pay attention. What are your immediate thoughts on a prediction coming true 12 years later? Was it a fluke or something more? Share your opinion in the comments below. Sylvia Browne didn't see the 2020 illness as a standalone event. For her, the entire decade of the 2020s was designated as a profound, dramatic turning point for humanity, a continuous period of intense
And we're already there now, guys, let's be honest.
Confusion, social division, and spiritual examination. She described a generation feeling utterly lost, internally disconnected from one another, and increasingly uncertain about the nature of truth itself. According to her
they can't decide whether they're men or women, so that's come true already.
vision, this decade would not bring immediate, sudden destruction, but something arguably more insidious, a slow, almost invisible change. The world, she believed, would begin to lose its collective sense of direction, not due to one catastrophic event, but because of a multitude of small shifts occurring simultaneously. Technological overload. Technology will progress at a rate faster than the human psyche could process or understand. Of
AI.
Trust. Faith in established leaders and institutions would collapse under pressure. Emotional fracture. Families would suffer emotional breaking points, even while physically living under the same roof. She wrote that people would feel an increasing sense of isolation, even while constantly surrounded by others. A spiritual void would silently grow, masked by the relentless noise of routine and digital engagement. The great enemy of this era, she warned, would not be visible. It would manifest as confusion, fear, pride, and profound disconnection. This instability, she stressed, was not the end, but a necessary preparation for the main event, a specific moment in 2026 that would challenge the human heart, mind, and soul to their absolute limits. Among all her predictions, the one concerning 2026 is the most haunting, primarily because the disaster it describes is internal. Browne did not foresee traditional calamities like giant floods or celestial fire. Her warning was about the quiet, devastating inner collapse of human beings. She wrote that by 2026, the world would reach a moment of ultimate spiritual crisis. People would begin to experience life as utterly meaningless. A strange, inexplicable heaviness would settle over entire populations. Many would carry out their daily functions, work, shopping, routine, while feeling completely numb, emotionally absent, and unable to articulate why. This transcended mere depression. It was a vast, shared feeling of spiritual emptiness, as if something vital had been subtly drained from the collective human soul. The most disturbing element was her description of the outward appearance of the world during this time. It would seem strangely calm. Technology would be perfectly functional. Governments would continue operating. Commerce would flow normally. But beneath this placid surface, humanity would be breaking apart silently from the inside out. She described 2026 as a year of great stillness where, at first glance, nothing seems wrong. But inside, everything feels wrong. This, she claimed, would be humanity's greatest trial, not physical ruin, but a silent, inner war of the spirit, survivable only through profound faith and unwavering inner strength. What makes the 2026 prediction uniquely unnerving is Brown's insistence that the true danger is invisible. It is not a war, a new disease, or a natural catastrophe, but something that moves in silence, draining people from within. She warned of a force that cannot be physically touched, scientifically measured, or defeated with conventional weapons. It would move through societies like smoke, unseen but undeniably felt, leaving people emotionally vacant, spiritually adrift, and mentally detached from reality. She described it as the light inside the human soul being dimmed little by little. This silent internal collapse would manifest in deeply personal ways, a parent feeling disconnected from their children, an individual looking in the mirror and feeling like a stranger to themselves, neighbors retreating behind screens, abandoning authentic human conversation. People would become increasingly isolated, even within the most crowded settings. Brown stated that this darkness stems from a perfect storm of spiritual neglect, emotional exhaustion, and the growing gap between human beings and their sense of purpose. Technology would be a catalyst, but the ultimate cause would be the loss of meaning, the quiet, ignored cry of the human soul. This, she believed, was humanity's most perilous challenge. Sylvia Brown believed the unfolding crisis of 2026 would not be confined to the human heart, but would also appear in the natural world. In her writings, she detailed strange, intensifying changes in the environment, extreme and unpredictable temperatures, bizarre weather events, and natural phenomena that defy easy, common explanation. She maintained that these were more than just the effects of climate change. They were warning signals that a greater, more fundamental spiritual shift was occurring. She described a time when the earth itself would seem confused. Rain falling in deserts, storms appearing without warning, and winds carrying an unidentifiable energy that leaves people feeling deeply uneasy. Science, she warned, would attempt to explain everything using data and logic, but it would ultimately fail. These environmental shifts carried a deeper meaning, one that could only be grasped by those who still listened with their soul. Brown's underlying principle was that the earth is a direct mirror of humanity's spiritual health. When the collective soul of the world grows sick, nature begins to reflect that sickness. As 2026 approaches, she advised people to look closely at the natural world, the strange behavior of animals, the erratic rhythms of the seasons as the earth is speaking, warning us to pay
Trees are dying all over the planet in really big numbers.
Attention before it is too late. One of Brown's most potent warnings for 2026 described a major spiritual conflict, not one between nations, but between faith and technology. She foresaw a time
Technology, the mark perhaps?
Where, as humanity rapidly advanced in the fields of science, computing, and artificial intelligence, something essential inside the human spirit would begin to wither. People would become so utterly dependent on digital systems.
Robo, I had a 3D TV, and to be honest, I rarely use the 3D side of it.
And devices that their innate connection to the divine
Right,
would
hang
slowly
on.
be severed. Brown did not condemn technology outright, but she warned of a point where people would begin to trust machines more than their own hearts. Decisions once rooted in prayer, quiet reflection or timeless wisdom would instead be generated by algorithms. Genuine human interaction would be replaced by the cold glow of screens. In moments of doubt, people would seek answers in cold logic and data, hoping to find guidance only the soul could provide. She saw 2026 as the peak of this tension. People would be forced into a choice, not between religion and progress, but between living with a soul or living without one. In the world where convenience crushes compassion and speed obliterates silence, many would feel a profound sense of loss without understanding the cause. They would possess everything: information, entertainment, medicine, yet still feel a crushing emptiness, because the missing element could not be downloaded. It had to be experienced through stillness and connection with a higher power. This, she said, would be a silent, personal war for the human soul. In her darkest vision for 2026, Sylvia Browne spoke of a terrifying urban future where cities no longer represent freedom, but rather become quiet, pervasive prisons. She was not speaking of physical confinement with bars or guards. What she described was far more subtle and therefore more dangerous. A world where individuals live under a blanket of constant monitoring without ever truly realizing how much of their personal liberty has been lost. She foresaw cities saturated with technology, cameras, devices, and systems designed not just to assist, but to gently watch, track, and guide every human behavior, all in the name of efficiency, safety, and progress. People would not be violently forced into obedience. Instead, they would grow comfortable being controlled, accepting it without question because it was convenient. This shift, she warned, would occur slowly, fueled by the very human desire for convenience and the belief that the system was keeping them safe. Over time, people would forget how to question authority, how to resist, and how to live creatively outside of the prescribed boundaries. This new form of control, she wrote, would quietly crush the human spirit, not through chains, but through silence and conformity. Cities would feel sterilized, emotionless, almost too perfect. The human soul would have no room to breathe. The city, in Sylvia's haunting terms, would become a cage without bars. And by 2026, many would not even recall what genuine freedom felt like. Another profound danger Browne predicted for 2026 was the silence of those in power. As society descends deeper into confusion, people would naturally look to their leaders, political, scientific, spiritual, for clear direction. Instead, she warned, they would be met with empty rhetoric, rehearsed speeches, and hollow promises that had completely lost their meaning. She described a time when leaders ceased to genuinely lead, not because they vanish, but because they no longer speak with truth. Their words would feel disconnected from the reality on the ground. This quiet dishonesty, she predicted, would cause something far worse than anger, a deep escalating fear. As the pillars of trust crumble, institutions, governments, media, healthcare systems would begin to feel distant, cold, and even hostile. People would start to doubt everything, including their own judgment. Browne warned that when truth is abandoned by those in charge, morality begins to break down. Rules become meaningless, community bonds dissolve, and fear becomes the loudest, most compelling voice in the public sphere. Once fear assumes control, people stop thinking critically and begin to follow blindly, not out of conviction, but out of a paralyzing terror of asking questions. For Browne, 2026 was not just about external pressure, but an internal systemic collapse amplified by a leadership that had completely lost its moral compass. In her most cryptic and final warning, Sylvia Browne spoke of a specific trigger event in 2026, a singular moment that, though brief, would send a shockwave across the entire globe. She simply called it a moment that will stop the world in silence. This event would arrive without any warning and would not be a typical disaster. It would not break buildings, It would shatter people's sense of security and reality. She saw it as a sudden but non-violent moment, devoid of
That sounds to me like that's when the restrainer stands up.
explosion or fire. Instead, it would be an event so unexplainable, so fundamentally strange, that it would shake the conviction of even the most rational minds. It would feel as if the basic, understood rules of reality had been quietly rewritten. Across the world, people would collectively stop and ask, what on earth is happening to us? What makes this truly disturbing is her description of its incomprehensibility. It would cause profound confusion before panic, and panic before any answers could be found. Governments would struggle for explanations. Experts would offer theories, but nothing would truly make sense. In this vacuum of clarity, fear would exponentially accelerate. This moment, she asserted, would be the breaking point. The quiet spiritual disconnection, the loss of faith, the confusion in the cities, everything would suddenly rush forward after this event. People would begin to act in ways previously unimaginable. This, she said, would not be the world's absolute end, but the moment when the world would no longer feel like itself. And from that point, the great shift would begin in earnest and without return. Amid all the darkness and confusion she forecast for 2026, Sylvia Browne's vision ended not in total despair, but with a profound, powerful message of hope. She believed that as the world was shaken to its spiritual and emotional core, a powerful ancient longing would awaken in the hearts of those who still possessed inner strength, a desperate search for simplicity, truth, and a...
Guys, do you think the earth is sentient? I do, because the blood cries out from the earth to Jesus and God. So I think the earth is very sentient on what's going on.
deeper connection.
And apparently all the stars are angels, so what about the planets?
With God. Brown wrote that in the throes of collective fear, people would begin to instinctively recall what once gave their lives real meaning: faith, family, kindness, and spiritual practice. These elements would cease to be viewed as quaint traditions and would instead become essential lifelines. As digital systems fail and trust in external power fades, the soul will begin its search for what cannot be found on a screen, leading many back to their spiritual roots.
Let's hope so.
She saw this as a movement not of global protest, but of millions of small personal awakenings happening quietly within homes and individual hearts. People who hadn't prayed in years would find themselves whispering to God in the dark. Families fractured by distance or pride would slowly begin to tentatively reconnect. Communities would rebuild their foundations not on politics or power, but on shared hope and faith. This rebirth, she acknowledged.
Okay, we know that's not going to happen, guys. So she got the last bit wrong. It's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. You have one more chance and then she's gone.
Would be painful and resisted by many. But as the immense weight of spiritual emptiness became too great to bear.
Yeah, no mention of God or Christ, so I'm leaving her. Oh, there it is.
Stretching, perfect.
Edgar Casey, a simple Christian man. He predicted decades in advance
He thought he was Christian, yet he believed in reincarnation and things like that, which makes him not Christian. They call him the sleeping prophet because he'd go to sleep and he'd get told things while he's asleep. Pretty fascinating what he was told, but he's not a Christian. He thinks he is, but he's not.
detail of what is already beginning to happen. But what he said about the United States changes everything you thought you knew about the future. And it's already begun. Edgar Casey was not a scientist. He had no high education. He was a simple man, born in 1877 in a small farming town in Kentucky. Raised in a poor but deeply religious family, Casey grew up reading the Bible every year, praying daily, and holding tight to his Christian faith. From a young age, people around him knew he was different. He would often speak of dreams and voices that told him things far beyond his age or understanding. If you believe in God and Jesus Christ, make sure to like and subscribe to Mysterious Paths. God bless you. As he grew older, something extraordinary happened. Casey began to enter deep states of sleep, almost like a trance. And while in that state, he would speak calmly, slowly, and with terrifying clarity. He described future events, unknown illnesses, and disasters that hadn't yet occurred. Those around him wrote down every word. Over time, these moments became known as his readings. He would speak with his eyes closed, as if guided by a force beyond this world. He never asked for money. He never wanted fame. He believed his gift came directly from God, and that it was not his to use for pride or power.
He had a female, how would you say it? A female of light show up to him, and she said to him, "What is it you want the most?" And whatever gifts he's got now, that's what he said he wanted. But he didn't challenge this female light, whether it's Christian or not. He didn't challenge it. And we all know what happens if you don't give it to Christ. It's basically getting all into yourself.
But for service. His words touched doctors, leaders, even skeptics. People who came in doubt left in silence. Because what he said was happening, little by little. Exactly as he warned, Casey became known as the Sleeping Prophet.
It's called channeling, Lobo.
A man with no worldly power, but with spiritual insight that would shake nations. He gave more than 14,000 recorded readings, many of which came true with shocking accuracy. But perhaps what matters most is what he said not about the past, but about the future, especially what he saw coming in 2026, and what he revealed about the United States. When Edgar Casey began...
He wrote a book, or there was a biography written about him, Edgar Casey I'm talking about, and it was called There Is a River, and it's a river of life and a Christian thing. But I remember him going up to 2012 and saying he was in a space station looking down on Earth. But I don't remember him going past 2012. I would remember if it happened. And these guys are saying he's giving predictions for 2026. I wonder what they're going to say, because that's not the way I remembered him.
Speaking his visions, many didn't believe him. After all, he wasn't a scholar, a scientist, or a man of high position. He was a quiet Christian with no formal education beyond the 8th grade. So when he started predicting major world events, people laughed. But the laughter didn't last long. One of his earliest and most powerful prophecies came in the night.
Some of these predictions are really impressive, and some of these pass as well. He's, whatever it is, the medium that's involved with him, whatever the angel that is, fallen angel that is, told him all about Atlantis. And he gives a really big, good detail about Atlantis. And he got that from that light that showed up to him.
1920s. Casey warned of a massive financial collapse in the United States. He described a time when banks would close, people would lose everything, and the country would fall into economic chaos. At that time, America was booming. The economy was strong. His warning sounded like nonsense. But then, in 1929, the stock market crashed. The Great Depression began. Millions of Americans lost their jobs, their homes, and their hope. Casey had seen it all years before it happened, and had even warned people to prepare. That was the moment many stopped laughing. Another chilling prophecy came in the 1930s when he spoke of a great war that would start in Europe. He said Germany would rise in power and become the center of a worldwide conflict. He warned that entire nations would be destroyed and millions would die. Once again, he was right. World War II broke out just as he had described, before anyone else had seen it coming. He also predicted the death of specific leaders, the rise of new diseases, and strange changes in the Earth's weather. He even spoke of the discovery of Atlantis ruins beneath the ocean, something scientists are still exploring today. These fulfilled prophecies gave weight to Casey's words. People began to wonder, if he was right about the past, could he also be right about the future? And what he said about the years ahead, especially 2026, was far more terrifying. Edgar Casey never claimed to be special. He didn't wear fine clothes. He didn't stand on stages or shout to crowds. He was a humble Christian man who prayed quietly and read the Bible every day. But what set him apart was something very rare, and to many, sacred. He said that everything he saw and everything he spoke came directly from God. Casey's most powerful visions happened when he was asleep. These weren't ordinary dreams. They were moments of complete spiritual connection, where he would fall into a deep trance and begin to speak clearly, as if another voice had taken over. He never remembered what he said during these sessions. It was as if his body became an instrument, while the message came from above. People would gather in silence around him as he lay motionless. A secretary would sit nearby, writing every word he spoke. What they heard was not vague or poetic. It was direct, detailed, precise. He spoke of medical conditions that no doctor at the time understood. He gave advice on healing that science would only prove correct decades later. He described places, names, and dates, things he had no way of knowing while awake. But Casey never took credit for these readings. He would say, "I am only the channel. The source is God."
And we know God says do not do channeling. And he's saying, I'm only the channel, the source is God. It's not a Christian God, Edgar.
His deep humility, combined with his unwavering faith, made even skeptics stop and listen. He warned many times that his gift should never be used for selfish gain, and that all knowledge must be rooted in love, faith, and service. His entire life was built on one foundation, Christ. Casey believed the world was moving further and further away from God's truth, and that, unless we returned to it, we would suffer greatly. He saw the suffering coming, and he believed it would begin very soon. Of all the things Edgar Casey ever said, there was one year that kept appearing in his readings, 2026. He never gave a specific day or hour, but he was clear. This would be a year of unimaginable change, a year that would mark the beginning of something much larger than a simple disaster. It would be the moment when the world begins to collapse, not just physically, but morally, spiritually, and politically. Casey warned that 2026 would bring a wave of global events that would shake every continent. Earthquakes, floods, fires, and storms would all happen in a short period of time. Governments would fall, economies would crash, and millions of lives would be lost. But these were not just natural accidents. According to him, these events were signs, judgments, allowed by God as a way to call humanity back to him. He described it as a realignment of both the earth and the human soul, a cleansing, a breaking down of everything that is false, proud, and corrupt, to make way for something new and honest. Casey said that those who had built their lives on materialism, greed, and selfishness would not stand. Their foundations would crumble. But those who lived by faith, service, and love, though shaken, would survive. What made this prophecy even more serious was how specific he was about the timing. He said
She didn't. She did, didn't she, Vast? That's why I switched off. See, Lobo, if they're not on board with the way we think, they're talking crap, so we don't listen to them. We're not here to get lessons off idiots. We're here to get deep studies and to know what's going on in the future.
The signs would begin to appear shortly before 2026. Unusual sounds in the skies, strange movements in the...
Everyone's heard, or not everyone, but a lot of trumpet sounds are in the air. So that's true. Let's just take that back.
Of the timing. He said the signs would begin to appear shortly before 2020.
The blood moons, the eclipses, everything. So there's the signs.
26. Unusual sounds in the skies, strange movements in the heavens, and sudden
strange movements in the heaven. Atlas 31.
Extreme shifts in weather patterns. The
flash floods everywhere, extreme weather patterns. This hits it on the head.
These would be the trumpets that warned of what was to come. For Casey, 2026 was not just a year. It was a doorway, a dividing line, a point of no return. The world after it would never be the same.
Who, me? I don't call anyone an idiot, Lobo. You must have misheard me.
And the earth itself would begin to rise up in ways no one could ignore. Edgar Casey's visions of the earth's future were not vague or symbolic. They were terrifyingly clear. He spoke of a time when the ground would split open beneath people's feet, when massive waves would swallow entire cities, when entire regions of the world would vanish in a matter of hours. And according to Casey,
that sounds like a pole shift to me, guys. Let's hear that little bit again.
Casey's visions of the Earth's future were not vague or symbolic. They were terrifyingly clear. He spoke of a time when the ground would split open beneath people's feet, when massive waves would swallow entire cities, when entire regions of the world would vanish in a...
Whole entire regions of the world will vanish. That's a pole shift. And it even says in the Bible, every mountain will be moved out of place. That's also a pole shift. We're in for a pole shift, guys.
Matter of hours. And according to Casey, all of this would begin around the year 2026. One of his most chilling prophecies focused on the western coast of the United States. He described California breaking apart, sinking into the ocean, with major cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco disappearing under the waves. He warned of violent earthquakes.
Lobo, we take the piss out of each other here, so don't take offense.
That would happen in rapid succession, destroying everything in their path. These would not be small tremors. They would be powerful enough to reshape the land. Casey also saw...
In fact, as soon as we see a chance, we get in and do that.
Similar events in Japan, where he said the entire country would be devastated by a series of massive earthquakes and tsunamis. He mentioned that entire islands would be lost. Even Europe, he warned, would face a breaking apart, with parts of the continent submerged by rising seas and violent floods. But it wasn't just about geography. Casey believed these disasters were deeply tied to the spiritual state of humanity. He said that as people turned further away from God, the earth itself would begin to react. It wasn't punishment. It was a kind of balance being restored. The earth, he said, would shake off the weight of human sin. Many of the places he warned about, California, Japan, parts of Europe, are now being watched closely by scientists. Earthquakes are increasing, the oceans are rising, the ice is melting, the signs are all there. And Casey believed that once these events began, there would be no turning back. Have you ever heard of Edgar Casey before? Tell us in the comments. To Edgar Casey, natural disasters were not just physical events. He believed they were spiritual messages. Each earthquake, each flood, each fire was not simply nature acting on its own, but a response to something deeper, the moral and spiritual decay of humanity. Casey often spoke of the earth as a living creation of God, not just a ball of rock and water, but a sacred, spiritual being, sensitive to the condition of the human soul. He said that when mankind turns away from God, from truth, and from love, the earth feels it. And just like the human body reacts to sickness, the earth reacts to sin. This wasn't superstition. Casey believed it was divine law, a reflection of spiritual order. When people live in balance, loving each other, helping the weak, praying and respecting life, the world stays calm. But when hatred, greed, pride, and violence grow, the earth begins to cry out. He warned that the storms, the quakes, and the destruction to come would not be...
Yeah, Vast, he claimed he was Christian. He wasn't Christian. He thought he was. I don't know why you think he was a mass murderer.
random. They would be warnings, a final wake-up call.
Or trained assassin.
All for a world that had lost its way. He said, "The earth will shake, the waters will rise, and fire will come, not to destroy blindly, but to remind man that he is not in control." Casey often reminded his listeners that God's justice is not cruel, it is just. He didn't speak with anger, but with sorrow. He didn't wish for fear, but for repentance. His hope was that people would hear the message, turn back to faith, and return to the path of righteousness. And those who didn't would be caught in what he called the Great Cleansing. Because in his words, the earth could no longer carry the weight of so much evil. Among Edgar Casey's most disturbing visions was something that, for decades, sounded impossible, even insane. He spoke of a time when the magnetic poles of the earth would shift.
Told you, pole shift, told you.
In his own words, the north will no longer be north, and the south will no longer be south. At the time, few took it seriously, but today, scientists are beginning to admit Casey may have been right. He described this event as sudden and violent, not a slow, gentle shift, but a rapid, global upheaval. He said that when the poles reversed, the Earth's rotation would change slightly. This would trigger a chain reaction, earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, and even changes in the shape of entire continents. Places that were once cold would become hot. Places with fertile land would become deserts. Seasons would be confused. The weather would no longer follow any pattern. Casey warned that technology would fail during this time.
Wow.
Compasses would spin without direction. Satellites would be disrupted. Planes and ships would lose their routes.
Good night, Dolly. Good night,
The world
Dave.
would be thrown into a state of panic. But this chaos, according to him, wasn't the real danger. The true danger was how unprepared people would be, spiritually. He believed that this pole shift would reflect
I never
a
knew
deeper
that,
truth,
Vast, about Mike.
that humanity had lost its sense of direction, not just geographically, but morally. What was once considered good had become evil, and what was evil had become accepted. Families were breaking, faith was fading, truth was being ignored. The shift in the earth was a mirror of the shift in the human soul. Casey didn't say this to scare people. He said it to prepare them. Because in the middle of that darkness, those who stayed faithful to God would not only survive, they would lead others to the light. Edgar Casey spoke often about natural disasters, but there was one kind of suffering he described that would reach deeper than any earthquake or flood: hunger. In his visions, he saw a world where food becomes scarce, not just because of war or greed, but because the earth itself would stop producing in the way it once did. He described a future where seasons would no longer make sense. Snow would fall in spring, heat would burn through winter, rain would drown fields that once needed water, and deserts would appear where...
Saudi Arabia got snow earlier this year, so the season's really out of whack there.
Rich farmland used to grow crops. Farmers would no longer be able to predict planting and harvest times. Everything would be thrown into confusion. Casey warned of massive crop failures, not only in poor countries but in wealthy nations as well. He spoke of insects and diseases destroying plants before they could grow, and of storms wiping.
And vast, if I'm wrong about something, I'm not scared to admit it. If I'm watching something we all don't agree on, I'll sack it and go elsewhere. I don't hesitate. So we're pretty good there, bro.
Out entire regions of farmland in a single night. People would panic. Shelves would go empty. And in many places, the hunger would become unbearable. But Casey saw something even more dangerous than physical starvation: spiritual famine. He said that as people grew more desperate for food, they would lose compassion. Neighbors would turn against each other. Countries would close their borders. The strong would take from the weak. And in this chaos, the greatest hunger would not be for bread, but for love, peace, and God. Still, he believed that this hunger could lead to healing, that suffering would remind people of what truly matters. He often said, "When man is empty, he remembers the one who fills." Casey's warning was not just about the body, but about the soul, and those who stayed grounded in faith would find a way to feed both. As Edgar Casey looked into the future, he saw something even more tragic than natural disasters or famine. He saw a world where people were no longer hungry for truth, no longer thirsty for God. He saw a generation drifting far from faith, a world suffering.
And look at the pride marches, guys. Pride's a deadly sin anyway, but they've even turned it into a march where they stick their finger up at God. That's basically what they're doing.
Not from a lack of food, but from a lack of purpose, love, and spiritual connection. He called it a spiritual starvation, and he warned that it would be the root of all other crises. Casey believed that when people forget God, they also forget who they are. Without faith, families fall apart. Without prayer, nations grow colder.
Amen.
And when love fades, darkness takes its place. In his visions, he saw a time when the values that once guided society, honesty, kindness, sacrifice, and humility, would be replaced by selfishness, pride, and confusion. People would chase after money, power, and pleasure, but still feel empty. They would.
Vast. I love the history of Japan in the 1600s when they battled for shogun and they had samurai warriors against each other. That era fascinates me. I've watched a lot on it.
Try to fill.
Same as ancient Rome. They fascinate me as well. Egypt, not so much.
The emptiness with things, with entertainment, with distractions, but nothing would satisfy. Casey warned that depression, violence, and hopelessness would grow, not because of external problems, but because the human heart would forget its creator. This spiritual emptiness would leave the world wide open to chaos. Without faith as a foundation, people would not know how to handle crisis. They would break under pressure. Fear would spread faster than disease.
Yeah.
And in that fear, many would turn against each other instead of turning to God. But Casey
Yeah, Dave, Japan's about to get hit hard, aren't they? We can tell that.
Also offered hope. He said that this time of spiritual hunger would be an opportunity for awakening.
Yep, pride.
That in their pain, people would begin to search again for meaning, for truth, for peace. And those who had remained faithful would be ready to help others find their way back. Edgar Casey did not spare the world's most powerful countries in his warnings. In fact, some of his strongest words were directed at the nations that prided themselves on wealth, military strength, and global influence. He saw their fall, not by bombs or foreign enemies, but from within. According to Casey, the greatest threat to these nations would be their own spiritual decline. He spoke specifically of countries that turned their backs on God while trusting instead in science, money, and politics. They built towers of success, but on weak foundations. Societies removed Christ from their homes, schools, and governments. They began to rot from the inside. He saw the United States among these nations, blessed with abundance, freedom, and opportunity, but warned that if it lost its connection with God, it would face a fall as great as its rise. He didn't just talk about disasters of nature. He saw moral destruction, families broken, violence rising, faith mocked, and truth silenced. Casey described a world where values would flip upside down, evil would be celebrated, and righteousness would be ridiculed. He warned of political corruption, leaders with no integrity, and
we are at that space right now, aren't we, guys? We're exactly in that place of time.
people no longer able to tell right from wrong. A house divided cannot stand, he reminded, echoing the words of Scripture. He saw division growing stronger between races, classes, and beliefs
Wow,
until
boss.
nations became unrecognizable.
About China, wow.
No outside enemy could cause this damage. It would come from the people's own choices, from rejecting the very foundation that once made them strong, faith in God. Still, Casey believed this fall was not final. In every collapse, there is a chance to rebuild, but only if the people recognize their mistake and return to the one who holds the world together. Comment, faith. If you believe God is still in control, no matter what comes. Before the great shaking begins, before the disasters strike and nations fall, Edgar Casey said the world would receive warnings, clear, undeniable signs from heaven and from the depths of the earth. He wasn't speaking in parables or riddles. He described real physical events that would serve as the final call to repentance. And many of those signs, he said, would begin shortly before the year 2026. Casey spoke of strange lights in the sky, unusual.
Wow, the drone onslaught in February. Wow.
Movements of the stars, a brightening of certain celestial bodies.
Wow, they're all glowing lighter because of the astral Atlas 33I. Wow, these guys hit it right on the head.
He even described a sound like trumpets echoing from the sky, so loud it would make people stop and look up in fear. These were not to be seen as science fiction, but as divine messages. A voice from heaven warning mankind, time is running out. He also mentioned deep sounds coming from the earth itself. He said people...
Thus, I think all the vaxxers create dementia. Dementia's nowhere recorded in history of any man or woman. No king has had dementia. No general like Caesar's had dementia. No one had dementia until about 30 years ago. And I reckon it's because of the jabs.
Would begin to hear groans from underground, like the planet itself was crying out. Scientists today have recorded the
groans from under the ground. Euphrates River, the four angels underground that moan. Wow. This has got to be made up, guys, hasn't it?
These exact sounds, long, low rumbles that no machine or earthquake seems to explain. Casey's words come to life. When the earth moans, man must awaken. He said the weather would turn upside down. Rain would fall where there had been droughts for years. Snow would come out of season. Heat waves would break records. All of it meant to shake people awake, not with fear, but with urgency. These signs, Casey warned, are not random. They are not to be explained away. They are spiritual signals in a physical world, and those who see them but ignore their meaning do so at great risk, because once the final sign is given, the time for warning ends, and the time of judgment begins. In the middle of so much pain, destruction, and fear, Edgar Casey saw something else, a light. He believed that all the suffering the world would face was not the end, but the beginning of something far greater, a new era, a spiritual rebirth. He called it the cleansing before the blessing. Casey spoke of a time when, after the collapse of nations and the shaking of the earth, the human heart would begin to heal. He believed that chaos would open people's eyes, not just to the damage they caused, but to how far they had drifted from God. In the ruins of the old world, faith would return. He saw people gathering not for politics or power, but for prayer. He described families once broken by anger, now united in forgiveness. Churches that had once been empty would be filled again, not by obligation, but by a hunger for truth. People would begin to live simply, humbly, and with deep respect for life, nature, and each other. This new age would not be led by governments or rich men. Casey said the leaders of this time would be the humble and the faithful, those who never lost hope, who kept praying even in silence, and who helped others even when they had little themselves. He saw this transformation spreading across the world, slowly at first, then with strength. People would no longer be divided by race or country, but united by faith. He spoke of a return to the teachings of Christ, not through fear, but through choice. A desire to love, to
See, that's not going to happen. Here's where he was wrong.
serve, and to build again from the ashes. It would be the beginning of a world more aligned with heaven than ever before. But first, the darkness must pass. Edgar Casey did not believe the world would end in fire or despair. He believed it would
So he went against the Bible. See, guys, he wasn't a Christian.
be rebuilt, not by those in power
Okay, guys, I'm going to bail out now.
today,
See you tomorrow. Mike from around the world tomorrow.
but by a new kind of leader, not born of politics, money, or force, but of faith, humility, and moral strength. In his readings, Casey described a time after the global collapse when people would no longer trust the old systems.